5.56 I was watching. So y'all ready to do this? You got any questions? Know what the topic's going to be?
Oh, I got jack wagons.
Wherever we go with it. That's where the show goes.
Oh, I'm totally going to derail the shit out of this.
I mean, we got all kinds of shit to talk about. Coming up.
No, man, my ADD is fucking me up today.
This is going to be a great show. This is going to be an awesome show.
All right.
Let's start her up here.
Jim, you know KOUP, Jim?
Nice to meet you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
I figured everybody kneue each other.
Way to fucking go there, Turbo.
Well, you're the one who knows them both better than anybody.
Jim, meet KOUP, meet Jim.
Good to meet you, buddy.
Are y'all familiar with each
absolutely.
other's backgrounds? Probably not. Ton, you want to? Let's just do it on the show. Let's do it on the show. All right. It's long intro. Yeah.
Mission First Tactical is the official tactical accessories provider for the Talking Lead podcast and the Leadhead Brigade. Use the code LEADHEAD for an exclusive 20% discount on all orders.
Hey, Leadheads. Welcome back to a very special edition of the Talking Lead podcast. This is our 556th episode. 12 years of educating the uneducated here on the Talking Lead podcast. And you'd think we'd be a little higher in the numbers, but, one a week, that's pretty good. That's gotten us to the 556th episode. And we appreciate all you longtime Leadheads that have joined us for all 556 plus. So I think I went through a phase there where I misnumbered some episodes. So I think there's actually more, but who keeps up with that stuff? So, welcome in, guys, and happy Halloween. I'm sure some of you are listening to this. It'll be Halloween by the time you're listening to this. And we're all dressed as our favorite characters today. So I will introduce our guests so they can explain their costumes that they don't have on. So my co-host, ladies and gentlemen, Ton Jones from the great state of Texas joining us, him and Grogu.
Yeah, my little Grogu. Let me put him back. My son decided to put Grogu on my mic this morning.
So is that like the character of preference there at the Jones house is Grogu?
Yeah, we have Mandalorian nights. So
nice. My
youngest son, Levi, I told him I was doing a podcast with Lefty, so he went and got the glow-in-the-dark Grogu and put him on the mic.
So my granddaughter, one of my granddaughters, that's like her favorite. She's got a Whoopie that she sleeps with. That's the Grogu. And she calls it Gro-Gro. So whenever she goes time to go nap time or bed, it's got to have Gro-Gro.
Yeah, Levi likes to take the glow-in-the-dark ones and try to scare Mom with it, but he hasn't realized the scaring part, so he just takes it and throws it as hard as he can and goes boo, and just pegs somebody with it.
Just to try to get the reaction that he's not getting by scaring him.
He just takes it and just chucks it and goes boo, and it hits him. Ow! He's like, I scared you.
I scared you. That's funny.
Jesus.
Also joining us back for round 2 for both of these gentlemen. We've got
and
Ryan,
on cue he goes out.
What happened?
And just on cue, Jim goes out.
Jim leaves the building. Ryan Kuperus, the reason outdoors. Coop, welcome in.
Thanks, man. Good to be back.
Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks. Good to be here.
Him. Coop is badass.
This is going to be a great episode to have you on because I know you've got a lot of input for our listeners for this episode.
No, I don't.
You shoot shit.
Just fake it, man.
Okay. Maybe I do. Fake it.
And then also was joining us. I don't know if he's still there or not. His camera's out.
Fucking black screen that goes
Are
out.
you there, Jim?
Jim Bueller.
Captain
We have Jim Gilliland dressing up as Bueller for Halloween.
I bet he went and put on his costume. I bet he had a costume.
We're not even 1 minute into the show and he quit already. Jeez, Tom, what's he do?
Fuck these guys. Oh my gosh. I think he might be back.
Oh
All right, let's
my
get him back to the
god.
stage.
Oh, there he is, Bueller.
Technical difficulties?
I quit. I absolutely quit.
So there he is, ladies and gentlemen, joining us for another episode. It's the great Jim Gilliland.
This will not be my last reconnect this morning.
So, Jim, welcome back to the podcast. Appreciate you joining us.
Absolutely. So if you're wondering, I'm dressed as the Magic Man because now you see me, now you don't.
Now you don't. I thought you were dressed as one of the worst fans on the planet, an Alabama fan.
Oh,
I would say that would be Tennessee or LSU.
Go Vols.
So yeah. So it's special when you can only beat a team every 40 years or so. So I understand I understand where you're from.
It makes it special,
I did hear a good joke about the Vols. It's like the only team that can dress up like a fan, a road cone, and a construction worker all in the same outfit.
No kidding.
I haven't heard that one before. That's a good one, man. I like that.
I was like, I appreciated that.
So how did Alabama do this weekend?
What are you talking about?
Okay. The Vols, go Vols, because they didn't play.
Yeah.
They didn't play this weekend. They had a bye week. So, Coop, remind me again where you live. You're in Texas, right?
No, Wilmington, North Carolina.
North Carolina. That's what it is. Are you a Tar Heels fan?
No,
No, he's like, no.
absolutely not.
Brother, please. Do we know what fan ton is?
The who gives a fuck team?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, I was out working.
The what's football team?
Yeah. Sorry, I was being productive instead of
What's organized collegiate sports? I have no idea.
Yeah, not it.
Now they do have shooting teams. You could root for their shooting teams.
That still would require me to give a fuck.
To give 3 of them.
Yeah, not it.
Well, there you go. There's tons of enthusiasm for the world of sport. But we've got a great show today because we, in honor of our 556th episode, and because I had several of you listeners shoot me an email, said, "Hey, what do you got planned for your 556th episode, Lefty?" I was like, "Well, I'm just going to do a normal show." And they're like, "Oh, 556, you're a gun podcast? Why not do it on the 556 round, huh?" I was like, "Oh, okay."
But did you do the 308 on a 308?
I think we may have. I have to go back because that's
Right.
good of me. I don't think I did, but we may have. I miss these like golden marketing opportunities. You just sometimes sneak in. Some people have to hit me over the head with a.
Oh, I do my best work the day after I'm supposed to.
Ain't that about the fucking truth, man?
We're about halfway through it. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
No, we should have done is like Jim's catchphrase. No, we should have done.
Oh, what we should have done. You know what would have been better? Hindsight. So a lot going on in the world, and we are going to talk about the 556 today. I don't know that we'll talk about it in the way that you are expecting us to talk about it, leadheads, but we're definitely going to talk about the 556 223 round. And I made a post on Instagram, and I did it in plenty of time this time. So I think we've got a lot of questions, or at least comments and interaction. So
That's right.
We'll get into those a little bit later in the show. But first, guys, and I don't know, I think you both took part in our jackwagon train last time you were on, didn't you?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's take care of some jackwagons. Get a little warm up before we get into the 556. So Gunny, bring that train in. And of course, Arlie Armory, the gunny, may he rest in peace, conductor and purveyor of those who go on the jackwagon train.
Hoorah, Semper Fi, do or die, hold 'em high at 8th and I. It is time for the Talking Lead Jackwagon of the Week, so brace yourself, baby.
There he is, in all his glory, bringing in the jackwagon train. And it's hot. It's on fire. We got lots and lots of jackwagons. So as I mentioned earlier, the election hasn't happened yet during this episode, but the election day is approaching, and early voting has been opened up all around these great United States of ours. And I took advantage of that, and I went and voted early. And I got a couple of things here to deal with on the jackwagon train. So the lines, you meet all kinds of strange and wonderful people when you go to the voting polls.
Yeah.
And I had this gem of a guy in front of me as I was waiting to vote. He felt the need that I guess he wanted to talk. Maybe he was a little excited about voting. I don't know. But he felt the need to talk to me. And he started, voicing some of his opinions about things. And one was, we were talking about how the lines for early voting seemed to be a lot of, good turnout. A lot of people showing up, voting, maybe people that normally wouldn't have if it was just the one day where you had to go vote. And he's like, in Brazil, it's against the law if you don't vote, and they'll send you to jail. We should have that here in the United States. And I'm like, well, that's kind of the purpose of the United States is, our freedom and our rights, for things that we do. Yes, people should go out and vote, but should they be made to vote? Should it be a law and you're going to go to jail if you don't go vote?
Probably a lot of people who don't want voting.
Yeah, that's exactly it. If you're too dumb to understand what's going on, stay home.
Yeah, or move to Brazil.
Yeah, please.
And you can go to Brazil if that's something that you want to do. But that's another right. That's a freedom that we have, is whether to vote or not to vote. And people who don't vote are jackwagons, but they're exercising their freedom, their right not to vote, and you got to respect them for that. So.
Yeah, if they're too dumb to understand what's going on, or if they literally do not understand or have any idea what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, they just like the colors of this team better, so they're rooting for them.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to even try to use Brazil as a comparison, you're just a jackwagon anyways, because you clearly have no idea what's going on in that country. So.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
That's just straight ignorance right there. I feel bad for you having to wait in line with that guy, or gal.
Well, I did voice my opinion to him in his thought process there, and I think it sunk in that he's like, okay, tell me who you're voting for without telling me who you're voting for. So. Yeah. So he turned around, and I didn't hear another word from him for the next 20 minutes while we were standing in the line. So it was nice.
Sounds about right. So
another thing is, once I get up there to vote, they have all these signs posted up everywhere. They're like, no cell phones allowed, in the building while you're doing your voting. No T-shirts, hat, paraphernalia for who you're voting for. Isn't that a violation of our constitutional rights right there to begin with? It's like, if I want to wear
that goes into
hat, if I want to wear a Kamala hat, as long as I'm not being disruptive and,
Yeah, but psychology comes into that too, and it's a power of suggestion, and it goes against our voter laws. Because the reason for all of that turned into, there used to be a dude to stand there at the voting poll or whatever with a bottle of whiskey and be like, hey, this bottle of whiskey is donated directly to you from candidate whatever.
Well, yeah. And I see that because I remember that when I used to go vote, you would get inundated with all these people handing you pamphlets and brochures and, vote for Kamala, vote for Trump.
There was whiskey.
While you're at the pole. I mean, I remember that in my day.
Motherfucker.
And I can see them outlawing that and making that illegal. But a T-shirt, wearing a hat, I don't see anything wrong with that. I mean, that's not persuading someone one way or the other to vote by doing that. And they're like, okay, if you got that, you can't vote. And they're kicking people out that if they had a hat, and they were just minding their own business. They just had a hat on or they had a shirt. They weren't, ooh, rah, rah, vote, vote, vote.
Yeah.
I think that's some jackwagonery right there.
That's interesting. That's definitely a First Amendment conversation for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my jackwagons. I wanted to get those out of the way. What about you guys? You got some jackwagons?
Oh, yeah.
The entire automotive industry right now. So, dude, I'm kind of in the market for a new vehicle right now, and I'm looking at looking all through the trucks or whatever. And currently I've got a 17 mega cab Ram 2500 diesel and a stick shift that I love. Absolutely love this truck, but it's 8 years old. It's got it's got some mechanical issues with it that I fixed, and I'm putting more money into it now than I feel like it's worth that I should put that back into it.
Sure.
So anyway, I'm going through, and so I rebuild my truck. 8 years ago, my truck stickered, and like I said, I put this whole truck together. I sat down at the dealership and said, I want this, 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 and this, and I don't want that, and whatever else. It ended up there was only 3 options that I didn't get on my truck. So it's a loaded vehicle. Ended up paying $73,000 for it, and I thought I was an idiot at the time, right? Because I'm like, my God, this almost cost what my first house cost. And then, so anyway, fast forward to like last week, towards the end of last week, and I'm like, wonder what that truck is today. That truck's over $100,000 now, and I'm absolutely blown away. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm really not traveling like I used to. I probably don't need that much truck anymore. Let me downsize. And I kept going down and down and down and down. So I finally, the last 2 trucks that I built, and I've got them pulled up so I make sure I get this exactly right. And this is off the Ford website. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've got a Ram now, and I looked at the Rams or whatever, and I still like those trucks, but I went over to Ford and looked at this.
F-150s.
F-150.
Raptor.
So, well, I'm actually looking at the Ranger Raptor. I think that was an option. That's $60,000 though for a Ranger.
The Raptor's got to be a lot more than that, I bet. And it probably
an all-in Ford Raptor Ranger is $60,000.
Wow.
Yeah, which is right. So I went all the way down to a base work truck. I'm talking about a single cab, 6.5 foot bed work truck,
roll up windows,
an XL that has literally, I put a V8 in it, 4-wheel drive, and a bed liner, and it is $45,365.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so I thought, it'd really be nice to have an extended cab. So I went one up to the
$10,000
to the SXT or STX, which is one step above the work truck, and an extended cab, and I added a V8, 4-wheel drive, and a tow package. That's it. It is $53,630. So I thought, man, I really, really would like to have a stick shift. I just like driving manual shift transmissions. I'm like, but you got to have a sports car to do that. Let's see how much a Mustang is. So I go and build a Mustang. Now,
you're down the rabbit hole at this point.
I went all in. So get this. I go and I pull it open and I build a. Oh,
you're getting all choked up.
I am emotional. I built a 2024 current year model, Mustang GT fastback, and I had dark matter gray metallic paint, which is an extra $495. I had matte black and red accent stripe put on it. I had the high GT package put on it, the GT performance package put on it, the exhaust package put on it, the red brake caliper. I mean, I built this car all the way out. I mean, this
Put
car,
all the trimming
all
on
the
it.
things and stuff. It is $215 cheaper than the damn extended cab base model truck. It's a fucking race car loaded for $215 cheaper than I can get a base ass model 4-wheel drive truck. So come on, guys. I know trucks are popular, but give me a freaking break that you're telling me a loaded performance car is cheaper than a base work truck. Kiss my ass, jackwagon.
Oh yeah.
There's
I'm with you
not
on that.
How many vehicles are in your yard right now?
We're not
on block.
Not including mine. Not including mine.
Yeah.
No, I get it, man.
So
the price of a
right
vehicle,
now in a row, Jesus Christ. Right now in a row, because I like lining stuff up, right? Like in a motor pool. I've got a 73 Jeep Commando, a 69 Ford F100 short wheelbase, 2-wheel drive, a 50 model Ford truck, short wheelbase. I've got, well, Cash is in he's got a Mustang. He's at school right now. The next one is my 17 Ram Mega Cab, and I've got an 05 Cadillac CTS-V with a 6-speed transmission sitting in the driveway.
Is it black?
Right. No, it's silver. So it's not mine yet. This guy, we're talking. That's all. We're talking.
And then mine's somewhere out back behind the shed.
Yep. Yeah.
Now, how many of those actually run?
I've got a 70 short wheelbase 2-wheel drive truck that I've got for a parts truck, and then next door taking apart, doing a frame off on it. I've got a 70 short wheelbase 4-wheel drive F100 Ford. So my oldest son is driving. I've got a 2000 model Chevrolet regular cab that my oldest son's driving. So I mean, it's not like I'm really need a new truck.
So what was your final decision? What was your final decision?
I hadn't made one yet. You know, I could totally pull. I think I could totally pull the midlife crisis and go all in on the Mustang, because that'd be a badass dude. I sent a picture to Melissa and she thought it was awesome too. So,
so we might see a Mustang parked in the Gilliland driveway.
Well, it'd be the second one. Cash, our youngest son, just turned 16, and he's got a 14 convertible Mustang. So it would, of course, he's all giddy over it because it's a new GT or whatever. He's got the V6.
He thinks he's gonna get to drive it too, doesn't he?
He thinks so, but he can't drive stick shift. And I tried. For a couple of years. I mean, he's putted around the yard a little bit, but he's never been on the road to stick shift. I'm like, you're not going to start in that car, especially. So,
yeah, the price of a vehicle, especially like a Jeep these days. Remember how cheap Jeeps used to be?
Broncos. So I talked to a guy yesterday, and they were, I've got a couple of friends that are in or work around the car industry. And so the way they do it now is you have allocations of what you can and can't have on the lot. So they'll say, we're going to give you 20 Broncos this year. Let's just use Broncos because this is what we're talking about.
Sure.
And so you get your 20 Broncos spread out through the year. But if you want any more than that, it has to be a customer ordered vehicle, like a custom ordered vehicle.
Yeah.
And these guys are doing $30K over MSRP, and people are paying for it. That's why the market is like it is. That's why they're getting prices for it, because people are stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, MSRP is on there for a reason. So, they just God.
So the consumers, the jackwagon,
my fellow Americans,
paying the price.
Quit being stupid.
Quit overpaying for shit.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
The idea of bringing on and procuring the farm-to-table beef aspect was high on my list. Being a third-generation farmer, I really focused on the elements of how healthy my life was and needed to be, And I wanted to send that same message and bring that same value to the consumers that are outside. So Whiskey River Beef came to fruition in the beginning of 2023, and here we are today.
Go to whiskeyriverbeef.com today to order. Visit us on Instagram at Whiskey River Life and on Facebook at Whiskey River Beef LLC. Whiskey River Beef is a proud sponsor of the Talking Lead podcast and the Leadhead Brigade. Use the code TalkingLead10 for 10% off all orders.
Coop, what about you? You got a jack wagon?
Absolutely do. So originally I was going to go just like real, broad with it and go with the term, mil spec. However, I researched where that came from, and it started appearing in the early 1950s with the DOD. So who better to use on 5.56 day and the term mil spec than the DOD? Because here's the thing, Tom, what's that slogan we were talking about the other day,
Dude,
that you were telling me?
Every time I hear the word or phrase mil spec, I say, congratulations, you killed another fucking soldier because you're a cheap son of a bitch and you undercut everybody else and you sold shit to the fucking military, you goddamn jackwagon.
Listen, leadheads, if you're listening, pay attention to this one simple thing I'm going to explain to you, okay? Mil spec means that the lowest bidder, not the highest, the lowest bidder got the contract. Mil spec doesn't mean shit. Mil spec sucks. Trust me, I know. I dealt with it my whole career. Most parts you can buy for your ARs and all your guns, you don't want mil spec. You want better. And you can find better probably for cheaper. It's just the way that people, it's mil spec. Oh, it's mil spec. Oh, the military uses it, must be good. No, wrong. Do your research. Mil spec sucks. It's the lowest bidder.
That's your minimum guideline. Yeah.
Right?
That's not the top. That's not the top of the process. That's the bottom
right?
of it.
So DOD, your jack wagons anyways, I could talk about that for hours. Bunch of freaking.
And you know what gets me is when people say it's above and beyond mil spec, which that's like saying, so I mean that's not saying a lot.
Right. That's not hard to do.
It's not hard to do, yeah.
It's not hard.
Yeah. And trust me, with the current administration, someone there set mil spec standards. Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, we
Put on that body armor, motherfucker.
Yeah, we got a bunch of mil spec stuff in Afghanistan that's spreading all over the terrorist world too.
That's
right.
true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
So I was remiss in telling our new listeners about our guest here. So Coop, tell the listeners a little bit about your background.
So I did my whole entire career in the Marine Corps as an infantryman, recon, and force recon Marine. And I was an instructor at Special Operations Training Group. I still do some contracting from time to time, a couple times a year for the military. So I'm pretty well versed in the mil spec stuff.
The mil spec, and also our topic today, the 5.56, because Jim is also an avid hunter. And he has started this organization. It's called The Reason Outdoors, a nonprofit organization to help our military men and women get out there and stay active. Talk about The Reason Outdoors real quick.
Yeah, so The Reason Outdoors, we provide ecotherapy, right? So that is our
new?
Yeah, that's our catchphrase. We just finished up a collaboration with 9 Line Apparel for ecotherapy, which is really just a way to get the liberal companies to donate stuff to us, right? Because ecotherapy, because we take folks on hunting, fishing, and outdoor adventures, veterans, first responders, and their kids. So getting them healing through the outdoors by us saying ecotherapy, it gets companies like REI, which is a very notoriously liberal company. They donated 2 cots to us. I figure if ecotherapy got REI to donate some cots, then we could probably go after any liberal company out there and get them to donate something. You know what I mean? But we're all about healing our nation's heroes through hunting, fishing, and outdoor adventures of any type. So that is what we're about. If you're a veteran, first responder out there, check out our website, fill out an application. If you're a company, we got a lot of awesome hunts coming up. We got a hunt coming up actually this week down in South Carolina, hunt in Montana in a couple weeks, couple in Colorado next month.
Nice.
We could always use donations. And we would love your support from anywhere, anyone.
And that is the reasonoutdoors.com.
.org, the reasonoutdoors.org. And you can find us on the gram under the Reason Outdoors. I think it's _reason_outdoors_. And then Fascist Book, same thing, the Reason Outdoors. I'm sure James has TikTok set up for us too at this point, and we're on YouTube as well. So
very cool. They're everywhere. They're everywhere, and they're here on the Talking Lead. Very nice.
Absolutely.
Jim, run through your background.
First and foremost, I am Melissa Gilliland's husband.
Yes,
so that's probably what I'm better known for nowadays. 20 years in the Army. I started out in the Ranger Regiment and whatever, and then transitioned to the big Army. Spent the rest of my time there. So there you go.
There you go.
I'm just
now
Rangers lead the way.
You do some competition shooting, and you're also big into hunting as well.
I am. Yes. So. As a matter of fact, the next match I'm putting on down at Alta Shooting Solution is November the 9th. It'll be our finale match for the one-day series this year. And then, I've been in the woods a couple of times here in Georgia. Our regular gun season's already open, so spent some time out in the woods watching some does and some little guys walk around. Hadn't seen anything that I wanted to bring home and meet the family, but not yet anyway. But yeah, the
wrong.
Not wrong, Alta. Yeah,
that's Alta. This is Altus.
Altus, ALTUS Shooting Solutions.
ALTUS
Shooting Solutions. And what an amazing facility down there. Yeah. So it's 240 acre training facility in Baker, Florida. It's right in the Panhandle, almost on the Alabama line.
There we go.
So
there it is. Altus.
Yes, that's it. Yep.
Very cool.
Great company, awesome stuff. So yeah.
Very good. So guys, go back to our previous episodes where we had Jim and KOUP on. Listen to those episodes. They were very good episodes. And you get to know those guys even better on those episodes. So,
I knew I recognized your name, Jim. I just looked you up. I knew I recognized your name.
Yeah, like I said, I'm best known now as Melissa Gilliland's husband.
His AI wife.
Yeah.
Well, we proved that she exists because she made an appearance on the last.
She did.
Yeah.
She snuck in.
Peeked her head in.
That's right.
The presence. So, Ton.
Oh yeah.
Ton Jones, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody knows Ton. He's been on here several times. If you're not familiar with Ton, just Google him.
Yeah, just Google me. It's easier.
See what happens. But Ton is also an avid competition shooter. Does a lot of hunting. Ton. Do you have a jack wagon this week?
Do we need to even ask?
Okay. Do I need to play the intro music for you?
Well, we're coming up on this wonderful election time, and I know that every time anybody gets down to watch TV with the family in the evening, they're inundated with all these wonderful advertisements and political ads on both sides spewing nothing but bullshit.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Yeah. And it has just gotten ridiculous on both sides. I don't even know what either side is campaigning for anymore. And it is just, I cannot wait for the elections to be over so we can stop hearing them bitch and moan. It's
about each other.
Yeah, it's
how bad this person is.
All it seems like all they're doing is getting on there and having a little bitch fest about how much they hate each other and how bad the other one is. No one's policies are out there. And then we have this douchebag here in Texas, Colin Allred, calling you out, you cocksucking motherfucking fairy idiot.
Wow.
All he does is his last claim to fame was he was captain at Baylor. Yeah, Baylor, you suck too. Evidently, that's what you produce. You produced captain of a football team back in 10 years ago. Senator Colin Allred.
Who?
That's here. Let me show you this tool bag.
I don't want to see him.
Yeah,
I really don't want to see him.
This guy, the last time he did anything was
What's he running for?
Senate here in Texas.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah. All he did, and his biggest claim to fame, he wants to take down this racist border wall here in Texas because we're overran by illegals coming through.
Racist border.
And that's his thing. His generation's going to tear down this racist border wall with Kamala Harris. Him and her are going to get together and tear down that racist border wall. I
thought they already did that.
Yeah, but he's going to take down the rest of it. And his biggest claim to fame was 10 years ago. For 1 year, he was captain of the football team at Baylor 10 years ago. He is the typical loser that still wears his Letterman jacket 30 years later at the bar.
Hey, easy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Wear that fucking Letterman's jacket because that was your last claim to fame and that was your last successful fucking anything. Because since then, you've failed at life, Colin. I mean, seriously, stop with the fucking ads. Tell us what you were going to do. Dude, at this point, I voted early. I was like, you know what? Let's just get it over. And same thing. I waited over an hour and a half in line. And it was just a complete clusterfuck. Everybody was in there.
Conversations with the people around you?
I tried not to, but it was... Dude, it was like Helen Keller in a hall of mirrors. Dude, everybody was bouncing off the walls, nowhere to go. You were stuck.
Oh, gosh.
Dude, and I was like, okay, I got through it. Cool. Still sit down, and you have all these idiots. Even a couple days ago, Kamala Harris had all these doctors on stage preaching about how bad everything is.
Gosh.
And there was a medical emergency in the freaking audience, and all these fake doctors she brought up stood there and froze because they're not real doctors. Someone get a medical professional. Yeah, abortion doctors. You got a PhD. You had to go through the basics. Kill people.
They don't know how to help them survive.
Evidently, you're not a doctor. First, you have basic medical knowledge. Well, someone's having a medical emergency. They froze and they were looking around. Evidently, all those white lab coats you bought on Amazon weren't worth shit because they froze and they're pointing into the audience.
Not only did they freeze, but they just had this blank stare like, what's he talking about?
Yeah. We're screwed. We just got caught out. We're all called out because we're not real doctors.
It never even registered to them that they were pretending to be doctors. It's like looking for a doctor. They were like looking around for a doctor.
It's every 4 years we have to go through this shit now of everybody faking and fighting and bullshit. There's no real agenda anymore. There's no real politics. It's just a bunch of fucking idiots bitching.
Well, all the politicians at this point, they all want the same thing. They're just telling you two different ways how to get there.
They want power.
It's all about power and money, and that's it. So, about this last time. So right about this time when I was on here last time was when the NSA started, cutting me out of the position or whatever. So we'll see how it works this time. But, absolutely. The visceral in politics now is only made to separate us more because the more we can separate, all of Americans, the easier it is to pick us, for which side or what do we want to vote for. Politicians,
There they are.
There he goes.
Like clockwork.
We
Like
do it.
clockwork.
Dang.
I mean,
Ding.
Come on in,
Anthony. The Federal Reserve.
You got me.
There he is.
Amazing, right? How incredible. So
Perfect timing.
Jesus. How do you know that you got an NSA guy without saying you got an NSA guy?
Black screen.
Yeah. So it's much easier look, it's easy to make people hate each other. I mean, it's so easy to make people hate each other. And it's so lucrative in hate too, because now let's say, a positive emotional charge, people are generally happy and whatever else, but they're happy within themselves. But when somebody hates, they hate out. They hate everything out and will do anything to spread that disaster everywhere. And so the more that we can get each other, the more that we can have people hate each other, and it doesn't matter who it is. They want every group to hate every other group. And because it's easy, because I'm going to hate outwardly instead of, bringing love in. So
it's like NASCAR fans.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think you guys would really appreciate Colin. He wants taxpayer money to pay for gender affirming surgery in the military.
Well,
yeah.
That's what Kamala wants.
Well, we've already done that.
We're doing that.
What's the name of the kid that got caught?
The not Bird.
No, Bergdahl was the dickhead that walked off and got caught. Yeah.
Yeah. Chelsea something, wasn't it? Isn't that what he?
Well, it's his name now or whatever. But yeah. So this little dirtbag or whatever.
Manny?
For right or wrong reasons, takes all this information off of the secret server or whatever and blasts it out to everybody. And then and it takes off. But once he gets caught, he comes back. He's like, "Oh, I want to be a girl. I'm not a boy anymore. I want to be a girl." And we paid, taxpayers allowed for that to happen.
Yeah.
We paid.
I mean, we all know that that's complete lunacy. It's
gender reassignment. Look, you know what? Whatever. I'll go ahead and say, look,
just go back. Look, just go back to
we're paying for alternative surgeries. I want a 13-inch dick. And I want the government to pay for it.
Just go back to don't ask, don't tell. Right? Like
exactly.
The military is not a DEI experiment. Stop with the bullshit. Right? Like stop. Right? Yep. Just go back to don't ask, don't tell. Right? Things were fine when it was that. We don't need all this freaking bullshit. Like seriously, we are going to, like, our military is so effed right now, right? Like it's, there is some hard dudes there, right? Like Raiders, Recon, Rangers, right? Some infantry units, right? There's some hard dudes, but the DEI experiments need to stop. Look, no one cares. No one cares what you do behind closed doors, right? And if you want to cut your pipe off, stick your nut bag inside you and bolt on some tits, wait till you get out, pay for it on your own dime and roll on with your life. But you're not doing that on the taxpayers' freaking money. We already waste enough money in the military with all these other. You go buy a pad of paper at the Serve Mart, it's like $50 and it costs $5 in the civilian world. I mean, come on.
Well, the whole thing too with don't ask, don't tell was, I mean, it was a great scenario because it's none of anybody else's business. I shouldn't ask you, hey, did you go home and bang your wife today? Hey, did you go home and bang your husband today? Hey, did you go home and bang that ain't none of my business. So what difference does it make to me? So the whole point of don't ask, don't tell was very appropriate because it's none of your business. It's none of my business.
Private life.
Keep your shit home and don't come tell me about it. And I won't ask you about it. And everybody can work and worry about what the task at hand is as opposed.
I don't give a shit who you're banging. As long as we're all shooting at the same enemy.
Well, what?
Well, look.
I really don't give a shit.
Care. No, I don't either. But I mean, this is your life to live just like it's my life to live. And who am I to tell you how to live your life? And who are you to tell me mine?
Just don't make me pay for your experimentations.
I don't care. All I'm saying is if we're in a hide on the side of a mountain in Afghanistan and it's freaking 0 degrees and we got snuggle to stay warm, I don't need to feel you can start to get a fucking chub when you're behind me. You know what I'm saying? Keep that crap down. You know what I mean?
That better be a magazine. That better be a magazine or a flashbang. Just saying.
Yep.
All right, let's move on. Let's
got one more. One more.
You got another one.
One more.
You're that guy right now.
Today. All right, Tons.
Yep. Orlando postal worker. Dude, here. This one, this motherfucker.
Show us what we got. Share the screen.
Right there. It should be shared. Dumping fucking mail, you Orlando postal worker son of a bitch.
Oh, I heard about this.
And this leads me to a hero. This is my jackwagon to hero transition.
All right.
This Orlando postal worker accused, of course they have to put accused because he hasn't been
tried yet.
Convicted, yep.
Yeah, he dumped a bunch of mail, including ballots and other shit. But not only is he a jackwagon for destroying the mail-in ballots and a bunch of other shit and election items, he is a jackwagon. He's a piece of shit. Congratulations, you're an asshole. Florida, you transitioned to my hero for busting his ass and working so quickly to prosecute and bust this motherfucker and call him out and make it known that you're not putting up with this bullshit. Way to go, Florida. Right on. Good on you. Bust these motherfuckers for being dumbasses and put them on blast. Show them all what's going on. Thank you,
So
Florida.
is this guy in jail or what?
Oh, yeah, they arrested him. This was it just happened. Postal Services.
Was there any, did he say why he did it?
The worker identified as Otis McCoy Jr. was tasked with delivering the mail, but allegedly discarded it. Instead, among other items, recovered mail-in ballot, 400 election-related materials.
So it was specifically voting stuff.
Yep.
Okay. And he didn't say like he was told to do it, or he just did it on his own accord, or why he did it.
The criminal complaint was filed by a postal inspector.
Nice.
So his own team busted his ass too.
Well, good. And then that's the way it should be. I agree.
Yep.
Heck yeah.
So right on, Florida, for not putting up with the bullshit. Stopping the madness.
Stop it where it starts. I like it. I like it. So on that same note, as you're in Florida, Ron DeSantis is my hero on the Talking Lead Force One. He gets a ride on Lead Force One. Just the way he handled the last two hurricanes, the way he has stepped up and he took control and is helping his community. I greatly respect him for that, and telling the federal government to get the fuck out of his way. I got this. I can handle this. Y'all are just making a clusterfuck here.
Yeah, FEMA sucks.
We've got the great people, and I know KOUP that you guys did a lot. Took part in helping people out during those times too. So you guys, the Reason Outdoors, big heroes here. You guys definitely deserve a ride on Lead Force One. So thank you guys for stepping up and helping with the donations that the people so dearly, and they still need them down there.
Yeah, we're working. Hopefully, there's a company that I guess is going defunct. A guy contacted me, and we might. I guess they're doing one last sale of apparel, but we might have anywhere up to $50,000 to $75,000 of branded apparel that's going to get shipped out to Western North Carolina. Hopefully, should find out here right after Veterans Day. So rain gear, sweatshirts, thermals, cold weather gear for folks out there in the Western Carolina. So I'm hoping that pulls through. That would be huge for those folks out there. Because
probably more than food and water, winter's coming, the cold season, and people really could use some things to help them keep warm during this winter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's going to be months and months before people start getting, any kind of semblance of normalcy down there. Probably years.
Yeah.
I mean, there were whole communities wiped out.
Oh yeah.
Just a whole maybe towns. I don't know.
Yeah, towns.
Yeah. I mean, where I was in, so I was in South Carolina, right outside in Edgefield. one of the guys that helps us out for this exercise I do for Marine Special Operations Command. He was like, hey, look, last time they said a hurricane was going to hit Apalachicola, it messed this area up. And I'm like, hey, hurricane, where no big, we deal with those here in Wilmington all the time. Well, it tore that area up really, really bad. It took us a day to cut our way over to some of the other instructors' cabin, cut like 100 trees out of the road. And that area was just in bad shape. And I mean, those folks out there are just, they're not prepared for that type of thing, and then you see all those dams breaking. And I mean, it's just complete carnage, out there. So, they're, Edgefield, Aiken area, they've had power and they're getting their stuff cleaned up. Some of the roads are still pretty boogered up, and obviously houses and stuff. Western, North Carolina. I got a buddy he's taken about 4 dump trailers, loads of stuff in there from the Oconee County side over to Black Mountain and stuff. And it's just, the devastation is just like post-apocalyptic, you know what I mean? Like stuff you just wouldn't believe.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's one of those where you got to be there to actually understand the devastation.
Yeah.
So you still have ongoing support going to these communities?
Yeah, I know right there, that's Triple T Guns, Brandon and his crew there. They just hauled another trailer of supplies up there yesterday or the day before. So I think they've made 4 or 5 runs. I know my buddy Andrew, he's made at least, I think he's made about 8 runs. And then we've had another buddy of mine, Zane, he went out there doing search and rescue and or was helping out that way. And we've had a whole bunch of folks going out there and,
Nice.
Getting in where they fit in essentially, really. And, I've posted a lot about government and FEMA issues out there. And I'm not saying that all government entities and FEMA are all boogered up, but a lot of them were, like the big thing is people are like, oh, well, we just can't have all these people out there. There is, right. You're always going to have certain folks who shouldn't be out there helping because they're, dumb, right? Or they're just not smart people, right? They have good hearts, right? But you got to put them at a distribution point, right? To distribute supplies is probably what they should be doing. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of people out there, military guys, soft guys who are going out there to help. And, my buddy Zane was out there with a cadaver dog and a search and rescue dog, and a building had collapsed. Only way in there was with a dog, and they got turned around, and people couldn't go in there, but they wouldn't let them bring the dogs in.
Unreal.
I mean, he had 30 guys out there with thermal drones, regular drones to go do search and rescue, and literally a sheriff told him, "We're not going to look for bodies until they start to smell." Right, but and sure, and people
that guy in the mouth. Jeez.
I mean, he deserves to be. And I've had people are like, oh, well, incident response is the same for an accident or a fire as it is for a natural disaster. Well, guess what? That's bullshit, right? This isn't your normal natural disaster. Right? FEMA's prepared for hurricanes in frickin' Louisiana, right? Florida, right? The Carolinas, but they're not prepared for Western North Carolina and all that, right? So if people want to help, how about you point them in the right direction? Let's do this the right way, because you're not ever going to stop Americans from helping Americans, right? And you look like a bunch of corrupt assholes, which, again, right? Like it was just another agency that is constitutionally illegal, right? All 3-letter agencies are constitutionally illegal, right? And they're not doing themselves any freaking help and justice. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Hey, how about we display some leadership, right, and getting our communities cleaned up. You know what I mean? And
right on.
And I would stop some of the conspiracy theories that are out there too. Like they don't want to, whether it's true or not, they say they don't want to build back Chimney Rock because they want to open that lithium mine to start doing $250 billion worth of business a year. And guess who, by the way, is a huge investor in BlackRock and Vanguard, which is the owners of that mine? Oh, Kamala Harris's husband. Oh, weird.
What a coinky-dink. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing with the fires that happened in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Same thing. They're like,
how about
they're
that?
going in and buying up all that land now from these people dirt cheap and doing some kind of mining or something. I don't know what it was, but yeah.
Right. Here, let's keep sending millions of dollars to Ukraine and to Lebanon, right? Because Americans give a flying F about those countries. Guess what? Stop sending money to other countries. Those countries hate us.
Sure.
Right? Newsflash, America. Newsflash, leadheads. The world does not like Americans. They like when you spend your money in their country, but they do not like us. So stop sending money.
Yeah, no shit.
Absolutely love our money, and our politicians love giving them our money.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So
let's abolish the Federal Reserve for starters. That'll help clear up some of this politics. Right. Let's stop sending freaking money to Ukraine, because that's just lining the freaking defense industry's pockets, which in turn lining politicians on both sides of the aisles freaking right pocket.
Which, you know, I got a theory on why they left all that equipment in the Middle East is, you know, again, the military industrial complex, you know, then they have to rebuy all that stuff. So it's just generating more money for their buddies at Boeing and
Lockheed.
And
they'll say, oh, well, we gave it to Afghanistan, so it was a tax write-off. How are you going to write off our own taxes, you assholes?
Exactly. Yeah,
what
because we're idiots. That's why.
How does that work?
Because they think Americans are idiots. So, all right, let's get off that. So, but thank you again, you and the Reason Outdoors for all that you guys have done and are continuing to do with the hurricane disaster there. And they're saying there's like 2 more coming, at least.
I'm all set on hurricanes this year.
I don't think we got our fill of them yet. Any more heroes that we need to recognize and honor before we get this jackwagon train out of here? Jim, you got anybody?
Any American that's not willing to pay $1 billion for a truck right now.
I'm like you. I've been wanting to, but it's just I can't. And I'll never buy brand new again.
I mean, how do we? How are we supposed to afford this?
I buy used now, but even
it's called a Leshy lockpick.
Yeah, right.
Just saying.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Unless you got anybody else, we're gonna move on.
No, I'm good.
All right, Ganny, get that train out of here. And Lead Force 1, smooth sailing, baby.
Acro bags embrace the art of blending in with a low-vis, everyday carry bag featuring a dedicated, discreet firearm storage system. Designed to meet the needs of modern commuters and travelers seeking both functionality and security, the Acro 10-liter sling bag offers an array of organizational options in a comfortable platform. Whether you're a daily commuter, law enforcement professional, or a weekend warrior, this sling bag caters to your lifestyle with utmost precision. The dedicated, discreet concealed firearm compartment is ambidextrous with quick access. An MFT multi-mount platform is included, offering the ability to mount a holstered firearm or other 1.5-inch belt clip accessories, with custom orientation, utilizing a hook and loop system. Cooling, quilted back padding increases comfort for extended use. The Acro series is constructed from durable materials that are designed to withstand the elements and rugged environments.
Mission First Tactical is the official tactical accessories provider for the Talking Lead podcast and the Leadhead Brigade. Use the code LEADHEAD for an exclusive 20% discount on all orders.
All right, so the topic, 5.56, the famous round, you know it, you love it, 223, also known as 223. Does it have any other names? 5.56 NATO, 5.56 by 45 millimeter. I don't know. Has it got any other nomenclatures? That's all I can think of.
And just for the record, on episode 308, you totally skipped the 308 round.
I did. What was the topic for episode 308?
Camp Patriot.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. That was a good topic. Another nonprofit organization that helps our military men and women.
It is, but you totally bypassed the 308.
I bet we talked about it a little bit on there. Probably not.
No,
this episode we're going to talk 5.56. So, the NATO 5.56. Does anybody have a great knowledge of the history of this round, or I think we should just maybe just brush the history. Just touch on the topic of it. So after World War II, the military was looking for, they had a need for a new round. The 308 was the M14s. Is that the ones they were toting around there in World War II? So it seems like every so often the military wants to, redesign their inventory, come up with something new.
Well, as it should. I mean, technology progresses, and the way we fight moves forward or whatever. So essentially, when they after World War II, they knew that there were better options for smaller, lighter rifles, and they kind of put it out to bid. Essentially, the way it works now is the government puts out a white paper that says, "Hey, we're looking for a new something," and there's thresholds and objectives, right? So the objective is, or the threshold is the minimum standards. Like, look, it has to be, between this and this inches. It has to be between this and this pounds. It has to be able to do this. It has to be all these things. And the objective is way past that. The objective is something that should be at the fringe edge or just past modern technology. So they want these companies to compete with this as high into it as possible. And then after a certain amount of time or whatever, after the white paper comes out for it, there's a question and answer period. And then after that, essentially they put the companies to task. The companies will come in, on a certain time period and be like, all right, here's our proposal. This is what we have. So, and then it goes through initial and different phase testings or whatever. And that's kind of how a very, very off the cuff summary of how a lot of this happens now. Right. Like super high level. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the late 50s, well, probably in the middle late 50s, is when we were kind of really into the process of figuring out what was next. And the original cartridge, the Stoner rifle that that eventually became the M4 M16 platform, the AR platform, was initially designed in a 223 because they didn't exactly have just like we did with the modern times, like, hey, we want a cartridge that's capable of doing these things, but they didn't really say what cartridge it was. But the original platform came out in a 222. And this is all off the top of my head memory, and I may be getting this a little
wrong. Good. Oh, you're doing good.
Yeah. So anyway, long story short, when the government got it, they pulled it into a 223, but they wanted a high pressure round. They wanted to differentiate it through all of the NATO countries, and so they thickened the neck up on it a little bit and had it a higher pressure so you get a little more velocity out of it. And I don't remember if that happened early in the process or later in the process, but that happened. And so, but while we're on this specific topic, all our fathers and grandfathers that were in Vietnam that came back talking mad smack about the M16, it was not the gun, it was the ammo. So, and there was we're talking about jack wagons earlier, but so the way the process worked out was the original cartridge, like once we had the M16 and we had everything, set through the process, and it was supposed to go to budget or to go to mass production. A bean counter in the Pentagon was like, man, this flake powder is really expensive. And if we change to a ball powder, just a little bit, or if we changed, whether it was a ball powder or whatever, anyway, if we changed to this other different kind of powder, then we could save like, 2/3 of a penny per 100 rounds or whatever, and over 1 billion rounds, that would be a big savings. And so they did, just as a clerical reference, they changed powders, and the powder was a much dirtier burning powder. And so that's why, through that powder burning dirty is one of the reasons why we had the early issues with the M16. It wasn't because of the weapons platform, it was because of a bean counter changing powder.
They're shooting 55 grain or 50 or 55, right?
Initially, it was a 1 in 12 twist, 55. So the original M16 period, was a 1 in 12 twist, rifle barrel, and it had and they shot the 55 grain ammo.
Yep.
And it wasn't until gosh, I think it was the late 70s at this point when they actually went to, or maybe been in the 80s at that point, when they went to the 7 twist with a 62 grain bullet, and they called it the green tip because they went from just a standard ball round to the tungsten tip green tip, or the tungsten penetrator green tip ammo that we all know now is, you know, the service ammo or whatever. So well, and it's changed again now too. We got the new EBR ammo that's out there now. But
5A1.
right, because when I was in basic, and this would have been, you know, April. So I joined in March, so April, May of '96. There was still, like, if I remember right, we still shot the 55 grain ammo just because they were trying to purge it out of all of the, you know, the war stocks or whatever. So, but I very distinctly remember there still being some 55 grain stuff left that was being purged out of the system at that point anyway. So that's kind of a really quick rundown, you know, of how we got to the 223 Remington, because initially it was a 222, and then the 223 was a little more powerful. It got a little more powder in it. So they went to it instead. And then somewhere in the process, they wanted and like I said, it may have been when they went to the A1. I don't remember. And that's, you know, that's something I didn't look it up beforehand or whatever, but they eventually changed it. So
adopted in 1963, I think, is when it was officially adopted.
Sure.
By the military.
Yep.
Of course, you know, like you said, the famously tested and tried in Vietnam, and we've done shows on this in the past where we've talked about the powder, you know, the issues that they had with it. It wasn't the gun; it was the jack wagons trying to save, like you said, 0.5% of a penny.
Yep.
And you know, it cost Americans lives.
Absolutely.
But that's what we got the 223, and then the NATO adopted the 5.56 soon after, and that's kind of where we're at with it. They're still using it around the world.
Here's the funny part. On this date, October 28th, 1980, the cartridge was standardized as the second standard service rifle cartridge for NATO forces as well as many non-NATO countries. So 44 years ago today, this recording.
No kidding.
How interesting.
Stanag 4172. It was standardized as of today. That's when they went to the official green tip 44 years ago today. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I planned it that way. That's why we're doing a Monday record.
So that's pretty cool for a 5.56 episode.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
but to differentiate, the 5.56 is a different cartridge than a 223 Remington.
Yes.
Now, so before everybody has an aneurysm over this, here's the easiest way. Look, it's two different cartridges, and there's very, very small differences in between. So if you have a 223, you can shoot that in a 5.56, but you should not shoot a 5.56 in a 223 Remington chamber, because it is like I said, it has a thicker neck and a longer, it's a little bit different. It has a higher pressure. It is a higher pressure cartridge. So
you can do it, but I wouldn't recommend doing it very much.
Right. You can do it once.
The caveat to that is a chambering. It is not a cartridge. It is a chambering called a 223 Wild. And at this time in history, most people have an understanding, at least, of the 223 Wild. It's WYLDE, and that is it's a chamber that allows you to shoot both. It's a little loose with a 223. It's a little tight with 5.56, but it allows you to shoot both more accurately than just going from one to the other.
Yeah.
So And that's why usually some of your higher build rifle companies will chamber in a 223 Wild because you can shoot whatever you want to in it. And it's a little
Or if
better.
you're building your own like I did. This is my newest build, and this is a 223 Wild barrel that I chose for that specific reason.
Yep.
So there's no issues.
That's right.
I think you just answered like half the questions on the.
I think, yeah, that doesn't show. Thanks.
Right.
Dang, you took everything I was going to say. Crap.
About 5.56.
Okay, I'll see you guys later.
Have a great day. Appreciate it. No, but that's something that we were getting into, but you went ahead and addressed it because that's kind of the biggest.
It's the number one.
Can I shoot this and this or that?
Yeah,
and that?
it's the number one most common questions when you ask, and everybody's, well, where do I find those 223 Wild cartridges? I've never seen those before. It's like it's not ammo. It's not a real cartridge. It's a chambering offer. So there will never be. Well, Jesus Christ, we can't ever say anything.
Yeah, way to go.
Because
Open up that fucking can of worms.
Some asshole's going to go start loading 223 Wild just to have a box.
Open up that fucking can of worms.
I'll hit the market next week.
Who's going to be on my next week's Jack Wagon?
So
that's all we need is all around. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. So it's interesting. So I'll drop this. It's interesting enough with procurement process in the military. The military's last, they're looking to go to the 277 Fury, and there's some 6.5 stuff going on, and some other cartridges that the military is pretty interested in right now.
5.1 is what they're calling.
Yeah.
It. Yeah.
Yep. So the technology. So again, a white paper was put out. Hey, this is what we want to do, and you go to FedBizOps and look at all of the white paper stuff that's across the government.
It's called FedBizOps.
FedBizOps. Yep.
You know why that round in particular got picked instead of like the 6 arc?
So the reason we went to 6.8, a 270 caliber bullet, from what I understand, was one of the granddaddy hunted with a 270, and he was like, well, I know that kills stuff, so I want the 270 instead of whatever. So
for the longest time, probably, obviously, while both of us were still in, the Army tested that 6.8 SPC for a long time, but there's bolt face issues and failures.
Sheared bolts, sheared lugs.
Yep. And so they went, right, because I have a huge issue with them. Why are we going back to an AR-10 platform, right? Because right now, as it stands, right, I got my M4, I got a grenade launcher on it, I got every trinket and doodad, like, even though my PEC, whatever, right, I've got a light and laser on there, you still got a flashlight on, like, the guns are heavy as hell, because you put all this bullshit on there that most of you don't need, right? But why are we going to a heavier platform, right, instead of going, like, to the 6 arc?
Sure.
And apparently, it's because that 6.8 by 5.1 will melt through level 5 body armor like a hot knife through butter.
Oh yeah, it's the speed. Yeah. So, and that's one of the things we keep talking about over and over and over again is, Americans are notorious for a hunting cartridge. They want to go as heavy as possible. You get 300 Win Mag. Well, I want to shoot a 250 grain bullet. It's like, come on, dude, help me out here. So the kinetic energy. The formula to find kinetic energy is mass times speed squared. Okay. So in doing that, mass counts 1, speed counts 2 times. So if you want to get the kinetic energy faster, lower the mass, double the speed, and you will have way more kinetic energy. All right.
Speed kills, bro. Speed kills.
Speed kills. And if you don't believe me, drive fast on the interstate and hit a wall. So Americans were so into our big 30 cal stuff, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, look, a 300 Win Mag is one of my favorite hunting cartridges. That's whatever, and it will always will be. But look, I have done some really impressive work in the hunting fields with 130 grain 6.5 bullet. Terminal sent from Federal, whether it be in a 6.5 Creedmoor or a 6.5 PRC. I will always take speed over mass when it comes to, turning shit into jelly. So, but yes, to go back to what you were talking about, yeah, the kinetic energy that's given by the new cartridge. Because so the other way that we do this is there's a process called the capstone process, and there's a group that meets every so often, whatever, and they essentially look at three things. They look at all the stuff that the military has currently, and they say, does this fit it's a 50-year ahead of us war, right? So, in 2075, what are we fighting then? That's how far they reach. And they go, do the stuff we have currently right now meet the battlefield of 50 years from now? And does it work? And if it does, fine, we'll keep it. If it doesn't, does something that we have currently in the inventory, can it be modified to make work? And if it is, then we'll modify that to make work, or do we need a new solution? And so that's the three ways that we look at that in the process for military acquisitions. Yeah, the capstone process. Yep. And of course, there's a Christmas tree of stuff that goes away from that brief and whatnot. But that's where like I was talking about, the white papers come out, looking for new technology or a way to change the technology we have into something else. But we look at enemy threat levels today, and we look at what we're projected to through current and expanding technologies of what we can do later on peer-to-peer level. Now, this is not the dudes that are running around the mountains in Afghanistan. This is not Iraqi guys that we were fighting for 20 years. This is peer-to-peer level where we see it. This is Russia and China, and probably there may be one or two other guys, whatever, mixed in to that whatever. But from those things, that's what we look at. And so we'd say, what body armor are they going to be wearing and what rifles are they going to be shooting? And we need overmatch. And that's the way we look at it. We need a percentage of overmatch. So if they can shoot me and engage me at 500 yards, then we need to be able to shoot them at 600. So we need to overmatch their capabilities. And that's how we always look at the acquisition process.
How often do they is it like a mandatory process that every so many years they come together? And
so it's ever evolving. Yes, it's ever evolving, but the capstone briefs happen at a very specific time, when they happen, annually, semi-annually. I can't remember now. That's been 12 years ago since I was in that process. So
right. So military wise, the 5.56 round, that's kind of how it was developed. That's what it was developed for. It was developed for the military, to be used in combat. But there's a lot of people, again, anything done for the military, it seeps into the civilian market, because civilians want everything that the military has, because mil-spec, they got to have mil-spec kind of deal.
The unfortunate thing that happened when we went from carrying 120 rounds of 308 to 210 rounds of 5.56 was we went from true marksmanship to learning how to shoot. So we got lighter guns that carry more ammo. So now we just need to learn how to shoot instead of how to actually be marksman. And I'll give it to the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps still does a pretty good job of teaching marksmanship straight up. But every other service in the military, they literally are teaching how to shoot, not marksmanship.
Yeah. And also, by going to that round, they reduced the team sizes too. So they're able to go from, a much larger man team to smaller, like 8-man teams, versus 11-man teams, because they could carry more ammo and they were lighter. And Cooper, you're going to say something?
Yeah, when you look at the ratios, right, of ammo expended to enemy KIA, going from World War II to current times, you see that the global war on terror, right, astronomical amounts of ammunition were expended to a relatively small percentage of KIAs, and because it's just guys are just putting lead in the air, vice that marksmanship thing that James is talking about. That even goes for the Marine Corps too, even though we obviously shoot better in the Army. But you know.
Hey,
But no, it is.
So to speak to that, you did look up who I was, and now could you say who of the services has the longest sniper shot?
I mean,
I'm just saying.
the Canadian dude. Unfortunately, the Canadian dude beat all of our services, so we don't even like. But you've got that, man. You got that. Hey, I'm not gonna take that away from you, bro. 100%. You got that all day.
I was reading.
I mean, we don't even have snipers anymore, dude.
Oh, dude, no. That's a whole nother episode of shit right there.
Oh yeah, dude, we could talk about that for hours, but whatever. I mean, it's dumb, but they'll be back. They'll be back.
They always come back.
Yeah, they always come back. Yeah. I mean, we still have snipers in the recon community and at MARSOC, but just not scout, in the infantry battalions anymore. But they'll come back.
So according to this, the longest sniper kill is a Ukrainian.
I just heard it.
4,156 yards.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually did see that not long ago.
I mean, come on, guys. At some point, look, not to take anything away from him, because kudos, right? However, there's a very specific range to where you go from luck, from skill to luck.
Yeah.
And that's anybody. I mean,
Once you get to a certain distance, then yes, luck definitely plays into it, because you got winds, you got temperatures,
it's everything. Everything.
Curvature.
Everything.
Don't get into Coriolis.
The Earth was flat. Wait a minute.
I will leave this podcast if you get into Coriolis.
Gravity.
I'll give you gravity, wind, and barometric pressure and humidity.
So that shit that they talk in the movie Sniper, that's all bullshit.
I mean,
Shooter. Okay. I was waiting for the speech from Shooter to start happening. Right?
So let's just. Oh my God, you motherfuckers! So at 1,000 yards, and we'll just do 1,000, because if we multiply, if you go to 2,000, it's times 2. If you go to 3,000, it's times 3. But at 1,000 yards, the Coriolis effect, the maximum Coriolis effect at 1,000 yards. And you got me on the spot, but it's something like an inch, 3/4 of an inch, inch and a quarter, something like that. I don't remember, right? If you're 0.5 mile an hour off on a wind call, that's 3 times the size of Coriolis, either way. So if you call the wind at 10 and it's actually 11 mile an hour, that's like 3 times bigger a miss ratio than if you just didn't do Coriolis at all. So if you don't know how to read the wind, it does you absolutely no good to read Coriolis, because you'll never hit the target anyway.
Been there.
100%.
So I got the list of the snipers up there, and on the bottom, number 21, there he is, Jim Gilliland.
There he is.
September 2005, M24 sniper weapon. 7.62x5.1 NATO, United States. Iraq War. 1,357 yards.
That was the other thing that I was known for. So I just pulled it up.
That's a good poke, dude.
What's that?
That's a freaking poke, man, with a 308, bro.
Oh, man. It was luck. It was a 1-round engagement, too, but it was all luck.
Who gives a flying shit, man? That's awesome.
That's absolutely. So I just looked it up. Typical horizontal Coriolis drift for a small arms trajectory fired near 45 degrees north latitude is 2.5 to 3 inches to the right at 1,000 yards. So let's just say it's 3 inches. Okay. If you are a mile per hour off on a wind call, which there are a handful and a half, maybe humans in America, all right, that can call a wind within 0.5 mile an hour. I mean, no, I'm not. I'm not that guy. I can get close, but I'm talking about between just a 1 mile per hour wind caller is an anomaly human being, truly anomaly human being. So if you're 1 mile per hour off between 10 and 11 miles per hour, that error is bigger than 3 inches. And that's one of the most common, things you can do. At least Coriolis is a it's a constant, just like gravity is a constant. You can, whatever direction you're shooting in, that's a constant thing, right? Wind is switchy. So, I mean, even if you call the perfect wind and you wait 3 seconds and it died on you, that's a 4 or 5 mile an hour wind change. That's huge.
It's
A
an
10 mile,
uncontrollable variable.
Lefty, do you have that?
So let's just
picture?
say this. So a 10 mile per hour wind at 1,000 yards, shooting a 175 grain bowtail hollow point at 2,600 feet a second muzzle velocity is 144 inches at 1,000 yards. So a 10 mile per hour wind moves 144 inches. That's 12 feet at 1,000 yards with a 10 mile per hour wind.
The whole building.
So now tell me how much Coriolis means?
Dick.
Right. So if you're 1 mile per hour off, we're talking you're
Scientifically speaking.
Yeah,
This has been
you're
back
10,
to
12
fight.
inches minimum off with just a mile and a half, maybe a 2 mile per hour wind change. So
Can you pull up that chart again for me, Lefty?
Chart of what?
The snipers.
Oh, okay.
I want to go over something. Just start at the top.
Okay.
Ammunition. Okay, just looking at the ammunition here used.
338 and 50 cal all the way down to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
I'm just pointing this out. 338, 50, 50, 50, 50,
50,
50, 338, 338, 338, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50.
And a retard.
308.
And oh, look.
No, you're not a Marine. You can't go that hard on yourself.
So all of these other snipers were using crutches.
That's right. They were propped up they were propped up in stiff grass instead of being in the soft grass like I was.
Right.
Yeah. So
there was no grass around me when I shot. I was in the building.
Lefty, you do get to make up for the 308 episode on your 762nd episode by 762.
That's right.
Yes.
I got you there, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, because you skipped 223 also and went to 556. So
right.
We'll give it to you.
Well, I may have done a 223 too. I don't know because
do you want me to go back and look? Because I seriously doubt it.
Go back and look, but we're making up for it here on this episode.
Yeah.
So
we're making up for something.
Yeah, I'm just pointing out that all these other snipers, not to take anything away from them, were shooting massive chunks of lead supported, and then we have Jim, who had to take one of my favorite rounds and fucking send it.
Yeah.
We also look at the weapon that they were using too.
Yeah.
On some of these, you used a bolt action, right?
M24.
Yep, it's a M24. It's
Yeah,
a bolt
M24.
action Remington
Yeah,
700 HS precision stock, 24-inch heart barrel, and an M24 contour.
I'm looking
internal
at
magazine, not even a box mag. So
I'm seeing a bunch of semi-autos on these other ones where they're probably sending walking it in kind of deal.
That's my.
we shot guys further than that with the 50 cals. I mean, we didn't do any record type stuff or whatever, but we shot guys at 1,500 a mile.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But Jim had to fucking send it with the fucking 308.
Let's do this. Let's so we talked a little bit about the military, the history there, and getting into. I don't know if we want to talk about the 5.56, 223 different. We talked about the chamber. That was good. So we touched on that.
What is your favorite 223 variant?
Well, we'll get into that. We're not going to do that. So I want to talk about, we're kind of talking about delivery systems. So bolt versus semi-auto, kind of deal. So
sure.
I mean, without saying, we all know that a bolt action rifle is going to be a lot more accurate than a semi-auto.
It
will be more accurate. Is that a fallacy?
Yeah, that's a fallacy. So bolt action rifles are easier to shoot accurately, but a gas gun can be just as accurate.
Especially these days.
Yep. Seen that firsthand.
Yeah.
Fucking Jim. I mean,
Jim.
fucking Jim.
So that's one of the, so that is a fallacy. A bolt action rifle is more accurate than a gas gun because there's moving parts and there's all this stuff or whatever else, and it is a fallacy. Mechanically speaking, a gas operated rifle can be just as, if not more accurate than a bolt action rifle. I've got a Seekins SP10M and 6 Creedmoor that I would shoot against any bolt gun anywhere, and I've got some damn good bolt guns.
I can
But
imagine.
it's so for me, and this is a conversation I've had a lot before too, and I think it's just a shootability thing. Is for me to shoot a gas gun more accurately, I've got to pay a lot more attention. And I think the difference becomes where in a regular bolt gun, your center of your scope to the center of your hand is a very short distance. It's about 4.5 inches. Whereas opposed to a gas gun, when you already got a tall line of sight, height over bore, but then you've got a really long, hand under bore, for lack of better saying or whatever. So any little movement that you twist in your pinky will amplify in the top end of that scope. So a little bit of movement on your gun when that fulcrum's a lot longer, it just makes it a little more harder to shoot. And I think that's one of the reasons why gas guns have gotten a bad rap. That and it's real easy to make a cheap gas gun and sell it for really expensive. So that's probably the other reason that's caused those ideas to be out there. But I've got a couple of gas guns, mostly Seekins guns or whatever, but that I would pick up in a heartbeat just to shoot accurately, just as much as I would a bolt gun.
Now,
especially the parts these days for gas guns. I mean, like you have an adjustable bolt, right? Adjustable gas block. I mean, you name it. There's a part for it. You know what I mean? So it's just having that perfect system. You
dial it into the individual because everybody's different. Yeah.
So, but the other thing too is what purpose you're going to use it for. So, a gas gun.
Well, I want to get into that. But
so, yeah,
we're going to get into that. So while we're still on this, talking about the different rifles, the bullets themselves, there is I guess a school of thought. Maybe it's a myth, maybe it's not. I'm going to let you guys discuss this. That the 5.56 was designed to wound and not kill. Talk about that.
I'm going to let you have the lead on this one.
And go.
I mean, we're in the business of killing people, right? When we're in the military,
yeah,
right. And it's like the 5.56 was designed to tumble, right? And like when I first went in the Marine Corps, like as soon as it hits flesh, it just starts doing all this stuff, right? And it's like, no, it's not what happens there, right? Like we're in the business of killing people, not wounding people, So that's just myth.
Yeah, it's like you said
why
earlier.
People, I don't. I want dead people.
Yeah, there's a white list of specs that when the military is looking for something, it has to do certain things. And when they were coming up with this new round, it had to penetrate armor to a certain amount of inches or whatever.
So look, there are subject matter absolute internet experts on external ballistics. I mean, they can tell you, they've read Brian Litz's books and they can quote the Bible on this shit, but don't know a damn thing about terminal ballistics or anything else. So what happens after the bullet touches the target, right? Because we're not competition shooting anymore. We're talking about real work, right?
Yeah. No.
And it doesn't matter how the bullet's constructed, what it's made of. If it hits a bone just right, if it's in a yaw in the flight, if it hits perfectly on the tip, or if it's in slight yaw when it hits, every single projectile is going to react differently. And it's one of the most amazing things I've heard over and over again about guys coming back from overseas. Like, man, this 5.56 stuff, it's just junk. It's just like my granddaddy said, you can shoot somebody 15 times with it. I'll take a 308 any day. Well, I center mass. I hit this guy center mass 6 times with my rifle at 500 yards. He's like, no, motherfucker, you did not. You shot at that dude and you missed him all those times, whether you think you did or not. So, but I
Pulp Fiction.
promise you, if you ventilate somebody with a 223 or a 5.56 round, they don't like it. It's not good. So unless unless they are, cracked out on something, unless they've got something on board, medicinally speaking, that'll amp them up for amphetamines or something like that, or if their adrenaline is just extra high. But I can guarantee you this. So there's a just like in the mechanized world, there's a firepower kill, there's a mobility kill, and there's a catastrophic kill, right? And that's the way they do vehicle stuff. If you mobility kill something, if you put a round on bone, that shit don't work no more. And I don't give a freak what you shoot them with. If you hit bone with a projectile, that bone, whatever's below that thing, don't work.
And it doesn't matter what chemical they're jacked up on either. It's gonna.
I mean, there's 100%. Off switches and there's dimmer switches. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Dimmer switches. That's it.
Nice.
I mean, now the green tip, right? Yes, it was meant to go through armor, right? And I've seen plenty of dudes get shot with freaking green tip. Like my buddy shot a dude in Afghanistan, like 450 yards away. Dude tumbled down the ditch. Guy stood back up, walked right up to the freaking compound of the hole about right here, right in his chest. And he's like, he shot me. Pointing right at my buddy. My buddy's like, oh, shit. And they brought him in. Doc passed him up, sent him on his way. Guy just happened to be walking through a firefight for whatever reason, like weird shit, right? Like people can take an astronomical amount of damage, right? The human body is an amazing thing. Right.
But the will to live is an amazing thing.
Yeah. And people do not understand that. Now, the green tip, right? We found out that it is not the best answer for ammunition on unarmored individuals. So they came up through a long process, came up with the M855A1, which some guys call the hand of God. That does very well at taking care of thin-skinned people. I haven't tested it out on hogs yet. Haven't had a chance. I really want to. But I'm going to tell you right now that my buddies were telling me it was leaving holes that big out the backside of dudes in country, right? Because that tungsten is on the outside.
On hog. Yeah, it works on hog.
That tungsten's on the outside now. So when it hits flesh, that dislodges, and then it freaking, you get your mushroom, so to speak, and that tungsten tips. If it hits armor, punches the armor, and rock and roll, baby.
Yep.
But yeah, you got off switches and dimmer switches. Moral of the story here.
That's right.
That's
right.
That's why we start doing
and like I said, it all depends on where you hit and what you hit too. I mean, look, if anybody has been a real hunter, if they've spent a lot of time and they have shot a lot of deer, whatever, deer plus size animals or whatever, you can have a really, really clean shot. And if you go in between ribs on both sides with a bonded bullet or something that expands, you're going to get a hole. I mean, it's going to do some jelly stuff on the inside. But if you touch bone, there's no telling what's going to happen after that, because it's a solid barrier that you're shooting through. So, and it happens the same way. I mean, it happens the same way in people. If you hit them in the right spot, obviously you're going to do a lot of damage or whatever, but it may not be the catastrophic damage you imagine. But if you touch bone or something vital in there, it's a different story.
You could hit him in the left shoulder and that bullet could come out the right foot.
That's right.
It's happened. Like, no shit. Like, it come out like him in the left shoulder, came out his ass cheek. Like, how the hell did that happen? I have no idea.
That could happen with just about any cartridge if it
That's JFK.
hit on a yaw and hit a bone and whatever else. So yeah.
100%. I mean,
too soon.
The thousands of animals that I've skinned and cleaned, right? The most violent wound cavities I've ever seen are always from soft point ammo. Period.
God, no shit.
Everything. No, the most violent wound cavity, hands down, is soft point ammo, bar none.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking thousands of animals.
Yeah.
And I've seen every high speed freaking round shot at animals. And there's the people that are going to listen to this, like, hey, man, I just shoot hogs in the head with 17 HMR, Bo, or I shoot them in the ear hole with 223. Hey, man, that works until it don't.
It works every time until it
Hogs
doesn't.
soak up more freaking rounds than human beings do.
Yep.
They have a will to live like no other animal I've ever seen.
Look, because higher intellect, we have, opposable thumbs, prefrontal cortex. This tells us that, we're smart. And if we get shot, we're supposed to die. Animals don't know that. They just know they're hurt and they got to get away to survive.
Yeah.
Right.
There we go. Look at that.
Yep. So that's a good primary and secondary wound channel view that you're looking at right there. So if you'll like the really, really dark spot that goes right through the center of that all the way to the bullet, that's your primary wound channel. That's everything that the projectile itself touches. All of the shade stuff that goes out. Yeah, correct. That's it. Everything outside of that goes up and down, that's a secondary wound channel. Now, that's all when you're talking about pulling tissue apart. You're talking about, viscerating blood vessels and things like that. Popping lungs and whatever. Hemorrhaging stuff. Yeah. So the only way that you get that is a shock wave, and that is if you're traveling faster than the speed of sound.
Hydrostatic shock.
And that's hydrostatic shock. So that's why you hear on the news all the time, or you hear buddies talking about, oh man, they got this dude, he's robbing a bank, cops shot him 65 times and, the doc put him back together. His ammo's junk. It's like, no, they just hit him in all in the wrong places. So, because pistol ammo in general will not give a very good secondary wound channel, the hydrostatic shock stuff. There's some ammo out there that's really good. And one of the reasons why I'm a huge proponent of that 30 Super Carry that Federal makes now too, because it's fast enough to where it can give a secondary wound channel up to a certain distance, and it loses speed fast enough to where you're eventually going to run out of that. But
not at 70 yards.
Nope, not at 70 yards. So
seen it.
But that's the difference between a rifle cartridge and a pistol cartridge is speed, because speed kills. If it didn't, then we'd kill everything with a 45 with a 230 grain bullet. Yeah. But a 9mm has ballistics so much better because it's a little smaller and a lot faster.
Yeah. So I'm showing now that's a wound. That's somebody got shot by 5.56 in the shoulder there.
So that would, So that's a mechanical breakdown, right? So it's a mechanical
like
kill.
you were talking about earlier. Yeah. Wanted to show that. So let's talk about, you're talking about the different uses. We're going to get that. So we kind of getting into that right now. So talk about the different uses of the 223, the 5.56. And let me get that switched over here. So, we haven't touched on hunting yet.
Right.
And it is a perfectly good, viable hunting round, but it depends on what you're hunting is to win and what version of the round that you would want to use. So let's jump into that a little bit.
Let's do this.
Everybody on here is hunters. We all, we all love hunting and white deer in particular, or white-tailed deer in particular.
White-tailed deer. You're talking 120 to 220 pound, whatever. So, yeah.
Evidently, you're not in Texas.
It is a viable hunting ground, right? But should you hunt with it? Now, let's put this in two parts.
Should you hunt whitetail with it?
You could. We'll go. Let's say we'll go because a lot of people, whitetail, hogs, that type of thing, not bears. I mean, my buddy Drew was on a forum. We were talking about guys shooting elk actually with a 77 grain TMK, and we'll just talk about that in a little bit. Right? Okay. But let's go with whitetail, hogs, coyotes, things that you're kind of, your medium game, right? Or big game, but the medium big game, deer and on down, right? Can you hunt with it? Absolutely, you can. Should most people hunt with it? The answer is emphatically no. Right? And here's the thing. I have a thing with this, right? All of these content creators and influencers and tactical instructors, I've ranted about this before, so I'll try to keep it brief, right? But they're like, hey, man, the 5.56 is the best all-around rifle that you should have. Home defense, hunting, war, all that stuff, right? It's awesome. Well, whether you have 10 followers or 10 million followers, you're telling somebody that they can go hunt, right, with a 5.56 rifle. So old Bob's going to go grab his 5.56 with a mag of green tip. He's going to head out to the woods. He's going to shoot a whitetail with it, and he's not going to find it. And then he's going to do it again, and then he's going to wonder why he lost street deer. Well, guess what? Number one, green tip is not what you shoot deer with. You can ask my buddy Bobby, because it sounded like a firefight over on his field one time, and I asked him what the hell he was doing. I thought it sounded like he was back in Fallujah, right? The rooster of Fallujah. My buddy Bobby, great guy. And he was insistent that he was going to hunt with a 5.56 green tip. And out of the 3 deer he shot, I found one, and I was looking for a very long time, and he's never hunted with that round again. But, right, so your followers are going to just go hunt. They're not going to do their research or understand that that ammo is not good for hunting. There is rounds that are good for hunting. However, you still should not deer hunt with a 5.56, especially if you are a entry-level hunter, right? And I'm not going to hunt deer with 5.56 or 2.23 ever. That's just me, right? If I'm going to hunt deer with an AR platform, it's going to be a 6-arc or a 6.5 Grindle or something like that. But like 6-arc is the one that rules them, I think, personally. Yeah. But right, so there's that. Like, hey guys, look, man, if you're like an influencer or whatever, right, or you're a tactical instructor, because there's like a dime a dozen. There's like 5 new companies that pop up every day. Like, don't tell your followers to go hunt with a 5.56 if they don't know what they're doing. Come on, it's just irresponsible, right? You know, it is from a conservation aspect. But can you hunt with it? Yeah, you can. Is there ammo that's good for hunting with it? Yes, there is.
There's great ammo.
I don't advocate it.
What's your thought?
And I'll follow up with that too. I'm the exact same way. You know, can you, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Can you drive, you know, a Volvo in a NASCAR race? Absolutely. Are you going to get your ass handed to you? Most certainly, because it's just not the right tool for the job. You know, if it's apocalyptic times and that's all you've got, then 100%. You know, but now it goes right back to the same thing we're going to talk. And it doesn't matter what caliber you're going to say or what animal it is, but it's shot placement. So you've got to maximize the ballistics of what you have to what you're trying to do with it. And there's a pretty specific, because we talked about kinetic energy earlier, there's a pretty specific number for just about every game animal out there. And you have to, again, talking about overmatch, is you have to be over that number to have enough energy to take the target. And, you know, there's a big difference. You know, hogs are much, you know, heavier muscled and boned than most deer are, especially, you know, I'm here in Georgia or whatever. So, you know, it just depends on where you shoot those. And if you don't have enough power behind that projectile, then you're very easily may not get through the muscle and bone structure to get to a vital. Is it going to die? Absolutely. It's going to crawl off somewhere and it's going to be weak, get an infection, and some coyote's going to have a great meal off of it. But that doesn't mean that you're going to get anything out of it. So if you are going to shoot that, keep the shots very close and keep them in very vital spots, if not headshots, you know. But
and get
it's just
the proper load.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the 62 Fusion from Federal, or, you know, some of the other, you know, kind of bonded soft point type stuff, or the TSX.
Barnes,
you know, 70
TSX.
70 TSX is a wonderful bullet for a 223. So
I've had some good success with the 62 grain controlled chaos from Lehigh Defense on hogs, but again, right, like we dumped a monster one night, so we just wanted to test it out, but then we shot another one that took 5 rounds before it died. You know?
Yeah, there's a reason you shoot hogs right behind the ear, right?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I don't even tell clients to do that. Like, shoot them right square in the shoulder, and when it's laying there, if it's doing the stanky leg, when in doubt, throw another one out. Right? When in doubt, throw another one out.
Expensive.
Like, I've seen
life's expensive, ammo's cheap.
Yeah, I've seen 30-06, 303 Enfield, 308, you name it. I've seen it ricochet off hogs' heads. I shot a hog right in the forehead with a 7.62 by 39. It ricocheted off and hit another pig right in the snout. It was insane. I mean, I
have a skull. I have a skull in my shop that has a bullet still lodged in the skull where someone shot this hog and it went up its skull and left the mark. And this
Wait,
thing,
you showed that to me. Yeah.
yeah, it's in the shop. This thing has been shot probably 5-6 times, and I finally took him down with a 458 SOCOM. He was only about 320 pounds, but this thing, you could tell people were sending lead after this thing for years.
He had an adamantium skull.
I was like, holy crap. But yeah, when it comes to deer, I do not hunt. I've had to hunt deer with a 223. We've been on a ranch in South Texas where we were actually hog hunting, and we came across a doe that was hit by a car, and it had came across the fence line, and we were hog hunting, and luckily the gun I had on me, I was running I think it was Power Shock by Federal, the 62 grain soft tip.
Yep.
And it was one of those things, you don't want to jump a wounded deer. You don't want to get that thing running any more than it had to. So we were only about 70, 75 yards out. Put a round in, and she had her head up just enough where I can get a clean neck shot, and dropped her with one shot in the neck. And that was the only deer I've ever taken with a 223. And I was like, that was any other time I've never used a 223 5.56 for a deer. That is the only deer I've ever taken, and that was with only because I had the right ammo, which even at the time I was like, shit.
Federal, you're wearing a Federal shirt there, Jim. I mean, they make several. I mean, all these companies make a load that's adequate for
appropriate.
Yeah, that's like KOUP was saying. If it wasn't for the fact that I was running a soft tip and I knew this was going to do some serious
Fusion,
damage.
I've used the Federal 62 grain Fusion a couple of times.
The Fusion bullet's a great bullet. It holds together. It maintains mass, but it's limited in capability because of what you're shooting it with.
Yeah.
Tell Federal they need to make a 6-arc Fusion round, would you, James? You got a shirt on, so you must know him.
He knows again.
Tell them to send me a bunch of it too, please, for the reason.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's, oh man, look, one of the best bullets that I think, truth in lending. Yes, I'm an ambassador for Federal Ammo.
No.
But look. So I mean, I can preach about it or whatever else, but. Man, it's an awesome company that makes some wonderful ammo. But in the end, whatever your gun likes, you should try a lot of different type ammo to find out what your gun likes the best. And whatever it shoots the best, it's appropriate for what you're doing with, that's what you should shoot. Doesn't matter what brand it is. If your gun shoots it well, shoot that.
So let's talk about that real quick, because that is definitely going to come up anyways. Because there's someone here that's going to say that is a BS statement, right? But the fact is, right, that different guns like different ammo, and different gun suppressor combos like different ammo. It is a fact, right? It is a fact of life. And if you have been shooting long enough, right, if you're actually a true professional, all right, professional gunslinger, right, some people might call it, you know that certain guns like certain ammo. It's just a fact, period.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I've got, typically speaking, you can kind of pick and choose what twist rate and what speed you want to get kind of the performance you're looking at out of a bullet or whatever. But look, you can take a 30-inch blank and cut it right in half and get two 15-inch or barrel AR barrels or whatever, 14.5-inch barrel, whatever. And they're going to shoot something different. Like just because it came out of one blank, now you got two different barrels. There's stressors that are in the metal different places or whatever, and it's gonna shoot different. And it doesn't matter what it's always shot. Typically speaking, I know with a 1-8 twist barrel in my match guns for either a 6.5 Creedmoor or a 6 Creedmoor, if I shoot a 105 hybrid, Burger hybrid, or if I shoot a 130 Burger hybrid in a 6.5, those are gonna be really good shooting bullets as long as I can hit the speed. Right about 3,000 feet for the 105 and about 2,950 or so for the 130. Those are going to shoot really well, but that doesn't mean that I can't try a match king in it or whatever else, and it won't shoot just as good, if not better. But you have to shoot different ammo, and it's expensive, guys. Look, especially when you're hunting with your hunting guns, some of that hunting ammo is crazy expensive.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
And I love, dude. I have done some
Being ethical costs money.
Yes, and look, I've done some awesome work with terminal ascent, and I'll go to ground with anybody that tries to. I'm not saying it's the greatest bullet on the market, but it's the greatest bullet I've ever shot in a hunting situation in the market. It's awesome, right? But that doesn't mean, like, in my 6.5 PRC, the newest one I got a Seek and Slam gun, and it'll shoot the terminal ascent, the 130 terminal ascent, in about 3/4 inch groups right now. And I know the gun probably has more potential than that because all of my other Seekins guns shoot really, really well. So, I'm going to look at doing the 150 fusions that Federal has. And if that doesn't work, then we'll start looking into some other, other projectiles and maybe another manufacturer or whatever that shoots good in that gun. And that's one of the things that I think, I think Federal actually appreciates the way that I view a lot of this stuff, because look, I'm dead set. I've always been a big Federal guy, because I appreciate what they do, and they've got a wide range of quality ammo. But I'm not the guy that's going to stand here and say the only thing you can ever shoot is Federal. You have to shoot what your gun likes to shoot, and that's just being brutally honest. And that's why I say when there's a Federal product that I will absolutely go to the ground on, and Terminal Ascent's definitely one of those. Any of their gold medal match stuff, I would put on the market in front of anything. From lot to lot consistencies from 40 years ago. I've had classes with law enforcement guys that have 168 308 stuff or 175 308 stuff, and you can look between the different agencies, and there's 25 or 30 years different just in the box. You can tell by the box how old ammo is, because they change. Manufacturers change their box design up every once in a while. And I've gone several times to these classes and be like, hey, I need, give me one round from each one of you guys, and have, 8 or 10 rounds, whatever, that probably span 35 years of time period through Federal. And they will always shoot within very close to what a specific lot number will shoot. And that's why I'm a Federal ammo guy, not, for no other reason that they got some great stuff. Not to say that anybody else don't, but I will pick up Federal ammo from any store anywhere in the world and put it in my gun without, if it's the same ammo. A 6.5 Creedmoor, if I'm hunting in Georgia and I leave here with the case of ammo that I had that's all the same lot number, but it's a 130 grain terminal ascent, and I'm going to go out west to do a mule deer hunt or whatever, and I forget my ammo, I'm absolutely no doubt in my mind I will pick up a box of 130 terminal ascent from a shelf somewhere, from a Shields or wherever, and not check my zero with it, because I'm that confident in it. And there's a lot of very well-known manufacturers that are out there with a big red H that cannot say that.
Federal, my address is
right. So, but
less than 1% of all Americans will ever serve in uniform. Their average age is 23. The average age of an American serving in combat, just over 21. They come from every walk of life and ethnicity to represent the melting pot and diversity of our great republic. In the prime of their life, often just old enough to drink, or voting for the first time for their commander-in-chief, they serve our nation and risk their lives to preserve the freedoms and liberties we hold most sacred. To every veteran, and for every measure of service, devotion, and sacrifice you've given, we offer our sincerest gratitude and thanks.
But now that I'm off my marketing speech or whatever, the long and the short of it is, your gun is a specific individual. It may look like everybody else. It may act like everybody else. It may feel like everybody else, but it is an individual, and it will like what it likes. And it may like what everything else like, but it may not. So you have to shoot different ammo in it to see what it likes the best. And
So
guys,
help them narrow it down and maybe save a little bit of money. I know what you're going to start off with federal.
well, start off with what you can
first.
find. Start off with what you can find. Of course.
Is it hard to find? Is federal hard to find? It's not hard to find.
Well, it depends on what it is and where it's at. So sometimes
what time
it can
of year
be.
it is and what kind of gun band's going on and
Yeah, exactly right.
Available. Yeah.
What ammo scare are we currently in?
But look,
Yeah, no shit.
bullet construction is one of the things that is probably least understood in most of the firearms industry, right? As far as shooting wise.
Yeah.
Now, to set your scope diopter lens to your Pacific eye, that's a whole nother story we can talk about on optics side, because nobody knows what that shit's supposed to be doing for
We'll
you.
do a
Everybody
show.
should. But when it comes specifically to hunting, there is a match grade bullet that should be stayed in the match grade world, and then there's a hunting bullet that should live in the hunting world. Not to say that you can't shoot a match with hunting ammo, but you really shouldn't hunt with match ammo. It's not made for it. A match grade bullet on the box is made to go from a chambered cartridge to touching the target at the correct spot. That's it. What happens after it touches is all terminal ballistics, and that is not the same.
Yeah.
So if you
Different
have
use, different purpose. Yeah.
used for the purpose, right? Now, there's also different hunting bullet technologies. You have solids, like the TSX is a solid copper beryllium bullet. You have, that's made to pedal out. You have bonded bullets. That's where there's a solid copper base in the bottom of it that has a lead core on top that's made, and then it's molecularly bonded together. And that's where you get those perfect little mushrooms. And that's one of the things, going back to the terminal ascent, is every bullet that I've ever dug out or seen somebody dig out looks almost the same. I mean, it is just a very well designed, very well acting bullet. But that's where that bonded bullet is. It's made to mushroom out and hold open and stick together, so you keep all that mass. And then there's hollow point bullets that are made to come apart, and so some of the base may stay together when the pedals come off, or it may just hit and come into pieces altogether or whatever. But you have to look at what animal you're shooting, what distance you're going to be shooting, and how how good you are at shooting, whatever. So one of the biggest things we make mistake in hunting cartridges is we say, oh, I'm going to shoot. I'm going to get a 30-06 to hunt with, or I'm going to get a 300 Win Mag to hunt deer with, instead of saying, I want to hunt, and like specifically, I want to shoot an elk. I'm going to this part of the country, and I know the average shot is 450 yards at this place, whatever it is, in part of New Mexico or wherever, right? And so now what do I need to do is, if the average shot's at 450, I may have to take a 5 or a 550 shot. So I need to go to 550 yards, find out what the absolute minimum kinetic energy I need to take an elk-sized animal at 550 yards, and then it'll be whatever foot-pounds that is. And now I need to see what grain bullet and what grain and speed that I need to make that power at that distance at a minimum. And then once I know what grain and speed bullet is, then I can figure out what cartridge I want. And now after I have the cartridge, then I can figure out what gun I'm going to shoot that cartridge in. And we do it completely backwards. I want a Remington 700 and a 300 Win Mag, and I'm going to hunt whatever else in it, because it's just great. Well, it is, but does it really? Are you saying it's great because that's what Granddaddy used? Or are you saying it's great because you've done your homework and it actually fits the bill of what it is? I know here in Alabama, growing up in Alabama and Georgia, I know guys that shoot a 7mm Remington mag or a 300 Win Mag or a short mag or whatever else on whitetail at 100 yards, because they're like, man, I've had deer run off with everything I've ever shot except this. And I mean, this just puts them down. Like, yeah, it does.
Yeah, no, dude, I know. I'm envisioning the hundreds of dudes saying that to me right now.
Yep. And it's just like, and even better. And I was probably this kid at one time too, But yeah, man, I shot that deer at 458 yards, aimed right over its back, killed it right there. It's like, number one, that was 186 yards, maybe. And you jerk the trigger with your eyes closed when you shot. So but now that I actually know how to shoot and I have a laser rangefinder and can tell how far stuff is, all those stories that I heard as a kid about aiming right over its back, all those dudes are so full of shit. And most modest hunters, right? And these are guys that, they're in a little hunting club. They've been hunting, even if they've been hunting most of their lives or whatever. But they're not technical hunters. They're just traditional hunters. Will not take a shot at 300 yards when they really see what a deer looks like at 300 yards because it's too far. So,
I mean,
and
let's be honest. In this day and age, it's kind of almost unacceptable, right? Because you can get a rifle out of the box that's sub MOA, right? Pick one, Ruger American Gen 2, right? A Hoa, like a whatever, right? You can get a scope, right? That's look, Arkin, 450, right?
Absolutely.
I'm a huge fan of Arkin, right? And you can get some. I mean, there is soft point ammo that is holding sub MOA, right? You can sling it on. You should be able to make a 300-yard shot all day with bare minimum training. Look up a couple YouTube videos, go to the range, a little practice, and send it.
100%.
Guys are out there with the Remington freaking Woodmaster pump action 270 with a Tasco scope from Kmart 1983, Bo. Right?
That's right.
I one time showed up with one of those, and I was like, "Why did you bring this to hunt with?" He's like, "Man, I got a whole safe full of guns. I just haven't shot this one in 10 years."
Man, I killed everything except chickenpox with this thing.
He shot one box of ammo, and every time he shot, he was jerking. And I was like, "Hey, you only got like 20 rounds left. How about you let me dial that in for you?" And I for 3 rounds got him, boom, and then he might have hit the steel one time after that, and the only person in the crowd that missed hogs that weekend was him.
That guy.
He had the wrong round because he was scared of it.
Yeah,
but no excuse for that. Moral story, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Like that. So let's
back to the 5.56.
We'll get a list of questions. Are there any more myths or maybe misconceptions about the 223 that you guys have heard in your experience?
There's probably a bunch that both of us have forgotten. We hear them all the time, and
we covered a lot already too. So.
And we've gone through a lot with it. The high points of it. And as we go through these questions, I've got them pulled up or whatever. And as we scroll through those, we're probably going to find a couple of more that we can talk about. So one of the things too is, like I said, it all depends on how you use the gun and what you're using it for. I like it. One of the first questions talk about what barrel twist and the 1 8, and I think a 1 8 is probably the best across the board twist if you're going to shoot, a heavier hunting bullet or a match bullet in the 80.5 grain range or 90, and then you could probably shoot all the way down to 55 grain, and it would probably stabilize those. But if you go up or down from that, you're kind of catching yourself on which direction you can shoot in the bullet weight wise.
Yeah. Well, again, it goes into uses. What are you going to be using it for?
Sure.
For what twist rate?
So, and it's really weird, because we have everything from, I think you can get a 36 grain bullet all the way to a 95 grain bullet in a 22 caliber specifically for this type gun or whatever. And if you transition that, that doesn't sound like a lot. 36 to 95, that's whatever. Let's just say 50 grains or whatever. But that same 50 grains in a 22 caliber bullet, when you make that bigger, and you talk about a 30 caliber bullet, you're talking about a 90 grain to a 220 grain bullet.
Right.
So, it's really wide. And unless you've got the right twist rate and the right speed that you're shooting that bullet, you're not going to stabilize it. It's not going to be accurate at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's do this. Let's get into the questions because that's going to probably cover everything else for this round. What are you reading some of the questions there, Ton?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
This is just fun.
What?
We'll start off. I'm just going to sort them here. Most recent. So Brett Badal, please review what specialty bullets still feed well in AK AR platform. I'm not sure I understand that question.
What kind of?
Why was shooting 5.56 out of an AK?
That's
Why?
what I mean.
Because you can.
Be like,
Because
fun.
you can. That's your
Thank
American
you.
right. That's your American right. But it don't mean you should, damn it.
Thank you.
Because it's readily available ammo.
Once again,
and why not have an AK?
just because you
Stop.
can doesn't mean you should. That's like, why in
do
the
it all
hell would
along.
you shoot a 7.62-39 in a freaking AR platform? Other than
Got
because
one
you
of those
can.
too.
Con Jones.
Guilty here.
It's
Guilty
called
here.
a mutant.
I
Got one
do
of
that. I have client guns that shoot 7.62 by 39 ARs.
And I'm more okay. I'm more okay with anybody shooting anything in an AR platform because the ergonomics are just about as good as you can get any gun platform on the market. The way an AR-15 is laid out ergonomically is just about as efficient as you can get. There's not a whole lot more that you can do. And if anybody talks about bullpup shit, I'm going to throat punch them because
Well, that's coming up.
we're not
So,
English
ready.
or Israeli.
Ready. So that being said, I think maybe one of the questions is what other weapons use the 5.56 and AK. There are AKs that have the 5.56. I've got a list here. Let me just share this list.
Oh yeah,
You have one, don't you, Lefty? I know you do.
What's that?
That AK that shoots 5.56.
I've got 4.
I know you do.
I have 4 of those, baby. Also the 5.45, the 7.62. Variety's the spice of life, baby. You know.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
I never know what
I mean,
I'm going to find myself in. Right.
Someone's going to give me an AK, and then I will keep it. But I will not purchase one just because I've been shot at too many times. Damn thing.
So for those who are listening, people know that Pioneer Arms, the sponsor of the Talking Lead AK Corner, has had some issues lately, and we think their doors are closed. But like places like Classic and Atlantic, I just saw a 5.56 for $449. And these are great rifles. They shoot excellent. You just might want to get an additional firing pin. Just saying.
Little caveat there.
$449. I mean, shit. Come on now. They're probably all sold out by now. But
it's like, man, this is the best race car that ever happened. You might want to get some bearings for that thing, though.
Yeah.
Get a few O-rings.
I mean, it never hurts to have extra parts, right?
That's right.
No matter what you have.
I concur. Because anything mechanical, man-made can break.
So the FARA 83 from Argentina, they have a 5.56 and 1984 to present. The F88 austere bullpup. There's your bullpup.
Oh, there's a bunch of those.
Australia. The EF88 austere. There's an F889 LSW. Let's get to some more. The AUG. So there's an AUG in the 5.56.
Yep.
Of course there is.
Our Scout. FN has several different ones that are in the 5.5. The Scar. They got a Scar, obviously, in 5.56. Have you guys shot the Scar?
Yep.
Yeah. The
I've never
Bushmaster ACR was way better than the Scar.
I was going to say
Scar's junk.
Like the ACR, yeah.
Yeah, the ACR I kind of dug, honestly.
Dude, and what a shit show that whole rollout. I mean, what that was like a 4.5-year rollout, and then finally they just. I mean,
that was the problem with that. I think that's why it didn't succeed. Is just their marketing.
100%. Yeah, they couldn't get their shit together.
Yeah. No, I mean, and then there was the Taliban were putting out Taliban Special Forces videos of those guys all parading around with scars and night vision. You know, probably because at one point in time, out of 400 trucks going into Afghanistan from Pakistan, only 200 were making it. But you know, whatever. That's probably where all the scars went.
Shit.
Colt Canada has 5.56. There's a Norinco CQ assault or China has several. They've got AKs, they got QBs, Zs. Let's see, some CZ 2000. The Bren, there's a Bren. So there's all kinds of. There's a whole list, and it's still going here.
Oh yeah.
Of rifles that have been chambered in the the 5.56 throughout the years and currently. There's the Marine Scout sniper rifle. What is that? That doesn't
That's
look
the
familiar.
Philippines.
Oh, that's
Filipino.
Okay, I was gonna say that does not look familiar.
No, it does not in our inventory. I can promise you that.
The Baril. There's a Groot. That looks kind of like a scar. I don't know what that is.
Probably something out of Turkey.
Let's see. Poland.
Poland.
The Polish. The AK-108, AK-101. So the AKs, we've established that.
The Stavas.
Well, look at all the bullpups. Wow. Marco would be having a aneurysm right now.
Yeah.
So, I understand. Like, I understand the draw to a bullpup. I completely understand it. But I just got a couple of, but the manual of arms.
We do a show on the bullpups, by the way. I've got a show coming up with the bullpups. I've got, we're going to do bullpup shotguns also. We're going to talk about bullpup shotguns. So, you want to be on that episode, Jim?
No, because I don't have anything to do with the bullpup. I don't want my face to be right on top of a firing chamber. And I've got a KSG shotgun, and that thing's awesome.
Yeah.
But even still, I'm very leery, regardless of putting my face on top of an explosive chamber. And then the manual of arms are just completely backwards from what, we don't work our hands this way. We work with our hands away from each other. Right. Unless you turn it just depends on how your shoulders are turned. And I don't know. And like I said, I'm not trying to knock the bullpup. And if that's what you're into, man, awesome. So
I got a British soldier SAS guy that's gonna come on and talk about it because they extensively use them on there.
But, absolutely.
The bullpup makes a good truck gun, but that's about it, in my opinion.
Right. And they're short. They're compact, and you can get a full length barrel in them. And there's a reason for them, and I get that reason. But when you're talking about a full manual of arms,
but with all the technology we have today, and you can fold the stocks, and you can, some of them.
There's also a reason for the last call chick at the bar, but no one ever wants to get caught with one.
Fuck. You don't want to be seen with her in public, right?
Dude.
Right. And like I said, not to knock the guns, they're just not for me.
All right, let's get
the last call check.
Different folks.
So Brett Bedell, not really sure. Specialty bullets still feed well in AKA AR platforms. Not really sure I understand that question.
It depends on the specialty bullet. He's probably talking about some like flat tip stuff or like some of the Lehigh type design stuff. And it really depends. One of the reasons why we went to the M4 feed ramp, it was a great improvement because it gave you small feeding channels that you could feed in through the lug recess area, which is the star chamber, what everybody calls it, but it's the lug recess area, the barrel extension.
That's what she calls
right. So I have had issues before in gas guns shooting, like specifically in 6mm Creedmoor, shooting like a 105 hybrid or a 107 hybrid. It's got a really long, narrow bullet, and it depends on how that surface is faced on your breech face. Is you can actually go through the lug recesses in your barrel extension and actually hit the face of your barrel, your breech face or whatever. So I've run into issues like that, but typically in a 223 or 5.56, whether it be a round nose bullet, it's kind of hard to feed sometimes, whatever, but typically they will feed just about anything. And if not, and I want everyone to hear me when I say this clearly, if your gun's not feeding properly, 99% of the time it's a magazine issue. It is not a gun issue. And that's like, I hear all the time, firing pin issues or whatever, where primers are indented, but not the cartridge doesn't go off. And man, it's got a bad primer in it. I'm telling you right now, 99.9% of the time, it is a gun issue, not a primer issue, unless it's wet. But if it was a correctly installed an in-place primer and it didn't go off, it is a gun issue.
Or maybe you need to clean your gun.
Right. I mean, there's a fire and pin protrusion issue or an out of battery issue. There's something going on, but primers in general, anything can, nothing is fail safe, but a primer is in modern times is pretty damn fail safe. I would bet 99 times to 1 that it is a gun issue, not a primer issue. Same thing. If your gun's not feeding right, it's probably a magazine issue, not a gun issue.
You mind?
Next question. Kimo's Hobby 75. Lefty, love the show, etc. etc. Blah, blah, blah. Love the show. Reading my question, as I understand it, 223 and 5.56 have different pressures, but aren't the methods used to measure these pressures different? Has anyone done a test to measure the pressures from both of them using the same method? If so, what were those results? I'll hang up and listen.
Go ahead.
So I haven't ever done it.
Okay. Well, I don't have the material to test pressure signs in barrels or whatever else. But look, the firearm industry is pretty damn standardized, especially when you come to SAMI. SAMI tests everything, and they test everything exactly the same. So there's no two different versions of testing protocol they're going to use for two different things. If you test a cartridge one way, you're going to test all the cartridges the same way. That's how you get baselines. That's how you know there's differences in them. So, it may be, he may have read online, about maybe,
I think what he's talking about is how NATO measured theirs versus.
It was SAMI versus piezo pressure.
Piezo pressure. That's what it was.
Yeah,
and
it was SAMI versus piezo.
One versus,
yeah.
I read something like that too, but I was like, eh.
But I guarantee you, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind, that they measured the 223 and the 5.56 under the same on both instances, and they got the same results on both instances. They didn't measure the 5.56 in one way and a 223 in a different way and said, "Oh yeah, there's your difference," because science.
Yeah, I bet there's some YouTube channel out there that's done this. So
I'm certain.
Go search YouTube.
The internet is your worst enemy.
B. Hurst, I'm still building my first one. Any tips and tricks for the LEO? Got my Faxon BCG and barrel and 223 Wild, working on finding lower and a rail. So lowers are cheap right now. So go buy just a standard like Anderson manufacturing. Unless you want some like cool next level looks to it, like a Sharps Brothers, and you want to spend $500 for a lower.
Right.
Do that. Avidity Arms has a really cool lower, but I don't know that they're actually selling those lowers. That's what I built off of. And it's actually got a purpose as to why they did the design in the way that they did theirs with the magazine well there.
That's right. Rob's got some good ideas rolling around that bald little head of his. So
yeah, if you just get them out,
Yeah, well, and they're a new company too. They're trying to get their feet under them and make sure that they've got enough going out to make money so they can make stuff to come in. And
we're one of the first to come out with a pistol with the 30 Super. So
they do have a 30 Super Carry and a PD10 and a 30 Super Carry. I've got one that shoots great. Dude, that's a great alternative to to any carry gun right now. It's very, very thin. It's very purpose built. There's a reason for it. So would definitely tell everybody to check that out. I really enjoy mine. It shoots great.
Yeah. Rail, Mission First Tactical. They've got different links. These are these are more narrow. They also have some fatter ones too, if you want to sink your brake or your can inside of them. But
look, the AR-15 is the Lego for adults. Go and handle a whole bunch of them, and whatever feels best to you, buy that.
I mean,
because there's so many good quality things out there across the board. I mean, there's at every price range too. So go touch stuff. And
Mission First Tactical has pretty much everything you need except the barrel, the lower, the upper. They've got all the furniture. They've got the accessories, the grips. And of course, we have that special discount code here. You use lead head, you get 20% off anything from Mr. First Tactical. So, but yes, I mean, there's a blue bazillion different accessories that you can put on your build. And that's why I build so many, because after you build one, you're like, oh, there's this new thing out. I need to make a whole new build just based around that one little piece that just came out. So
I mean, sure. My opinion, right? If you're building your AR, like the priorities, right? Barrel.
What are you building it for? Yeah.
Right. Barrel, trigger, bolt, gas system, right? And then go on from there. That's my opinion.
Everything else.
Right.
Yeah.
Like an upper is an upper, a lower is a lower, is a lower, a buffer tube's a buffer tube, don't matter, right? So watch a YouTube video, build accordingly, be safe doing it, right? Do it to spec, right? And torque, blah, 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 right? But like,
torque and stake. Torque and stake.
Right? Those are your important parts, right?
There's some people out there that have great build classes too, so you could actually attend in person. And a lot of times you walk away with the AR that you build. So.
Yeah. Sure. And then on top of that, right, there's a lot of people that just talk trash on, right, like budget, right, ARs. Well, in my opinion, I look at it like this. You could get a budget AR and get training and be trained, or you can wait and save and buy this expensive SAR and not get any training and be untrained. I would rather you go buy a Bear Creek Arsenal, which is mil spec, by the way, right? Right, mil spec, right? I'd rather have you go buy a Bear Creek Arsenal or a Palmetto State Armory and go get training, right? And then be untrained. On top of that, right? If you burn out the barrel on your Bear Creek, guess what? You can just buy a whole new upper from Bear Creek for $299.
Yeah.
Less than that. They're on sale. I've seen it for like $179. You know, Black Friday's coming. This is a Bear Creek Arsenal barrel in this.
If I go to a competition and I outshoot you with a Bear Creek and you got a $2,000 gun, you're probably going to feel like an asshole.
That's right.
Right? Or if I kill you before you kill me and I got a freaking budget gun and you got a high-speed gun, guess what? I'm alive and you're dead. Who cares?
No, guess what? I just got a high-speed gun.
Right. I mean, that's the way I look at it. And you look at other things too. Who's turning the barrels, right? Like FN turns Palmetto's barrels.
Well, so that's a big thing too. The barrel, the gun manufacturing industry, the firearms industry in general is very incestuous, and there's a lot of. And I don't mean to jump on this for you, but that's a very thing in my heart right now. So I do a lot of work with Shaw Barrels or whatever, and they're not a very well known company as far as across the board out there
right now,
right? So, however, a couple of years ago, they had Guns and Ammo or somebody, I can't remember who it was, Tactical AR, whatever. One of the big rags, maybe it was Recoil Magazine, I can't remember. But one of the big rags came out with the top 10 replacement barrels that you could have for your AR-15. Well, Shaw was not one of the top 10, but 7 of those barrels were Shaw barrels with a different name on it. So, you know, and sometimes you'll know, sometimes you can find out who gun manufacturers. It depends on who they are. If they're a very well high-end, known company, they might not tell you where they're buying their barrels from. But just know that it's just like glass in the optics industry. A lot of scopes come from the exact same place. Yep. A lot of optics companies. I mean, from $200 to $2,000
with different names.
That's right. Yep. Now, the prescription of how they're built may be different, but it's the same way. The drawings that these companies turn in and say, this is the exact barrel I want you to make me. And then they can turn that barrel and give them to them, and so it gets exactly what they want. But it's still made and manufactured in the same place as the budget build guy that's making his ARs and still buying the same barrels. So,
yep.
The Firebird M50 targets are a new low-noise version of our popular 50 bio-detonating target. M50 targets are self-contained, pyrotechnic, reactive targets that are legal, safe, and easy to transport. Use the exclusive code TL15 for 15% off all orders at firebirdtargets.com. Firebird Targets is a proud sponsor of the Talking Lead podcast and the Leadhead Brigade. All right, next question. Shep Guns. And
somebody
we touched on twist rates. You know, we touched on twist rates.
Yep.
Can you talk about the best twist rates for the wide range of bullet weights? And I guess it would be the barrel links and all that's got to do with it. So
Yeah. So that, I mean, there's graphs all over the internet about this or whatever. Me personally, when we're specifically talking about the 223 5.56 Gunnery, if you go below 10.5 inches, you need to get into some other cartridge. You lose so much ballistics out of the AR when you go below 10.5 inches. And I'm a big 12.5 inch guy too. I mean, I've got 10.5 inch guns, but 14.5 is my favorite. Like it's standard M4 barrel length. And I've got several that I've gotten long, suppressor brakes for it, or muzzle brakes or whatever, had them pinned and welded. So now they're total 16, so I can, I don't have to SB arm or whatever. But typically speaking, across the board on a standard AR, a 1-in-8 twist barrel will shoot just about everything from a 45 to a 77. Right, pretty well. Now on the fringe end, it'll shoot 77 great, but on the lower end, they start getting a little weird, wonky or whatever. But again, if you're building your gun for a purpose, if you're building an AR and you're always going to plink with it or whatever else, you can find 55 grain ammo that'll shoot an 8 twist barrel, no problem, whatever else. If you want to do some, actually testing with some 77s or 80s. 80.5 grains or whatever, then an 8 twist is going to shoot that just fine. But if you know all I'm ever really going to do with this gun is shoot prairie dogs with it, then you probably go to a 12 twist and shoot some 36 and 45 grain stuff, and the 55 grain stuff would be just fine with that too. So what are you going to do with it? And guns are cheap enough now, honestly, to buy another one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for our listeners who don't know what a twist rate is, tell them what what is a twist rate?
Twist rate is how many times the projectile makes a revolution for every inch it travels down the barrel.
It's rifling.
It's the rifling, like a 1 in 12. He's talking, it's going to make a complete revolution.
In that many inches.
Yeah, one revolution every 12 inches.
That number of inches.
Yeah.
That's right.
So a 1 in 12 is one revolution every 12 inches. 8 is one revolution every 8 inches. So it is the 1 in 8 is a faster twist rate than a 1 in 12. The 1 in 12 is a slower twist rate. So
because it turns one time in 12 inches as opposed to one time in 8 inches.
8 inches.
And what does a shooter gain by having the different, or lose by the different twist rates?
Well,
so the magic number, right? Kind of the magic number is 30. You want 33,000 RPMs, right? Yeah. That's what you want. Yeah. And so it depends on the velocity you're shooting and the grain bullet you're shooting. That's your magic number, and you get there by the twist rate. Or is it 33,000 or 333,000?
333.
It's 333. Yeah. So, but that's what you're looking for, and it depends on the weight of the bullet and the sectional density of the bullet and the speed. So, for specifically 224 Valkyrie. So when Federal came out with the 224 Valkyrie, they picked a 1 in 7 twist because that was what would most closely stabilize all the bullets, from the super light stuff for the prairie dog guys all the way up to the 90.5 grain stuff for the long range shooters. The problem with that, there's a couple of problems with that, is to have the 90 grain bullets to stabilize with that, they had to shoot them fast. So you had to get the speed up enough to stabilize the 90 grain bullet in 1 in 7. All right. The other problem with that is you can't really guarantee a 1 in 7 twist gun. It may be a 1 in 6.9 or it may be a 1 in 7.1. And because you're on the fringe of those, a 6.9 twist gun, or I'm sorry, a 7.2 twist gun would be very hard to stabilize that 90 grain bullet at the slower speeds that some of the cartridges were shooting. And that's why we were having some accuracy issues with the 224 Valkyrie. Because some of the barrels weren't really 1 in 7 twist. They were close, but they weren't really there. So you really need to pick, am I going to shoot a heavier bullet and stick and pick a twist that fits that, or am I going to shoot a light bullet and I need to pick and do that, because you're not gonna get the same accuracy out of a 12 twist gun that shoots, a 36 grain varmint grenade, as opposed to shooting the exact same. Like, that 12 twist gun won't stabilize a 77. They just won't shoot well.
Very good.
Don't
So
shoot
that
224
clears that up.
Valkyrie.
Anybody have questions about twist rate? What was that, Coop?
Don't shoot 224 Valkyrie.
No.
You're killing me,
Shoot.
Smalls.
Shoot 6 arc.
Brett Bedell.
6 arc is a great dude. I'm so freaking mad. So when we came out with the Valkyrie, the first thing when I came on board, it's like, this is a badass cartridge. We need a family of this. We need a 6 Valkyrie, a 224 Valkyrie, a 30 Valkyrie, and a 338 Valkyrie. And we need to introduce them one a year every year for the next 4 or 5 years, and own the market. Because if I have a 33 Valkyrie, why the fuck would I ever want to shoot a 300 blackout? Because now I can shoot a 250 grain bullet at the same speed and maintain and actually shoot further, because it's easier to make a heavier bullet go faster, right? Go further. Right. Yeah.
You want to see me get them real riled up?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Anyway,
I'm
moving on. Moving on.
Hell yeah! I knew you would do something special for episode 556. He's one of the ones who sent me the email asking if we were going to do something special. Brett Bedell's got a lot of questions on here. He has a good one here. What are some options for budget-friendly bolt guns to accept AR mags? 2 questions for me, both revolve around the most commonly available rifle mag, the AR STE ANAG mag, standing. So, any suggestions for a good budget-friendly bolt gun?
I mean,
Box
you have to look that up.
Ruger
I know
American.
there's some out there. Yeah, the Ruger American, I think. Has
Ruger American all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never been displeased by any of those, Gen 1 or 2. I mean,
You're right.
If you're a budget dude,
Impressed.
that thing's it's gonna be a shooter out of the box.
Yep.
If you want to go a little crazy, get it with the Magpul stock.
With American. That's a good rifle. I wasn't aware that they took AR magazines on their 223 rifles, but Ruger American's a great gun. If it comes with a 223 magazine, that's an awesome gun. Yeah. So if you've got a Remington, who is it? There's a
Henry.
Talking about a chassis system for it?
No, well, the chassis is one. The easiest way to do it in Remington is to have a chassis that takes an AR magazine. But there's actually PTG. PTG makes a bottom metal, a bolt-in bottom metal. Now, they're not always bolt-in. Sometimes there's an alignment issues, because of tolerances. But I've got an old Remington PSS that I wanted to match. That I had the barrel cut off at 16 inches and I had a PTG bottom metal put on it and a bolt knob or whatever, just as a plinker gun or whatever, trainer plinker gun. And it took me some fitment. I had to get in there and do some fitment stuff with it, whatever, but it'll feed great now out of a 223 magazine. So if you got a Remington that's in a 223, there are companies out there that make bottom metals, and PTG is one of them.
Cool.
I think HOA makes. I think they make one with a AR mag too.
Really nice one.
That's not a bad option at all either.
Portable, aren't they? Yeah. Let's see. PPRN is the 1.8 barrel twist the best? I think we established that. The 77 grain Match King and similar grain weight bullets increase performance of the 223-5.56.
Read that one again.
I think he's just making a statement there. The 77 grain Match King and similar grain weight bullets increase performance of the 223-5.56.
Oh, yeah. I replied with that one. Okay, yeah.
Oh, did you reply?
Like I said earlier, my buddy Drew spent 2 days on this thread. I can't remember what website, but there was dudes talking about shooting elk with 77 grain TMK rounds and about how the TMK is the round to rule them. And I'm like, that's just that's not even discussion I would even have a part of, right? Like that's not even the Indian and the arrow conversation. That's just dumb, in my opinion. Right. But apparently that 77 grain TMK is pretty solid, but I'm not doing that. That's insanity.
So we're talking about different things here. To speak to directly what he was just saying, is you got to pick the bullet for what it is. Now, is the ballistically speaking for accuracy and distance, the 77 tipped and the non-tipped Match King is the king bullet from accuracy distance for the 223. I mean, there are some that can do it just as good or better, but if you want turnkey long range performance, we're talking 700-800, to 1,000 yards, then the 77 Match King or the tipped Match King in a 1-7, 1-8 twist barrel is awesome. I mean, very awesome. And I have done the Lord's work with Mark 262. But I would never take that to shoot an animal with. So
no.
But on the range, yeah. 77
Accuracy, yes.
Yeah.
Mustang Perry, does anyone see a future where this round gets overtaken, replaced in the mainstream? If so, what round do you guys think will replace it, and when do you think it will happen?
Not anytime soon.
No.
That goes down to your right. Let's keep common calibers around, right? So like right now, if the apocalypse or civil war happens that people seem to want to have, and whatever ignorance they want. Right, yeah. you want common calibers around your 5.56, your 308, your 300 Win Mag, your 50 cal if you really find some of that, right? But as this gets phased out by the 6.8 by 5.1, right? But we're talking 20 years from now, at least, right. I would say, right? The 5.56 isn't going to be replaced on your common caliber list or your 7.62 by 39 or any of that anytime
Not
soon.
in your lifetime.
It's always going to be around. Yeah.
Right, it's gonna be around forever. This is a like a American icon at this point. You know what I mean?
Look up when the 9mm was made and tell me how long cartridges last.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah. Brandon's Ballistics. I have a horror story of a situation I found myself in due to not being patient enough to wait for the perfect shot due to my arrogance at the time of thinking I could always take my prey with one shot. I'd brag about only ever taking one bullet with me in the field. Yeah, I was that guy when I was younger. But give me a break. 16-year-old me is a lot different than 34-year-old me. So I had to dispatch it with a knife, and at the time I was told if that ever happened, you slit its throat for a quick dispatch. Well, that's a bunch of BS and traumatized me with all of those noises it was making, movement, blood, etc. I didn't find out for a couple more years that you just stab your knife at the same place you would normally aim at, the heart, and it quickly passes away in like 10 seconds or so. So if I had the proper information at the time, or if I wasn't so arrogant to think I'd only ever need one shot to hunt with when I was a kid, then that would have saved me a very rough experience. I didn't go back hunting for about 4 to 6 years after that. Even now, I don't hunt much, but that's more because I don't have the time. So, great story.
Hey, it's the Marine in me. The Marine in me says this: look in my eyes and listen to me. It's the hard heart that kills. The hard heart. Right. The hard heart that kills. But I'm glad you learned your lesson.
Right. So, but I mean, this is the story that we have hammered home between the two of us this whole time. Is you have to pick. I mean, number one, hubris will kill you faster than anything else. You will always lose with hubris. Period. Absolute. Yep. That's it. And it's one of the few absolutes that I'll go into. But this is the exact story why we say it is. Can you? Absolutely. Will you pay for it? One day, absolutely. Because it's not designed for that. It was never designed for that. Never intended for that. And so you need to pick the cartridge and the bullet designed to do what you're going to want to do with it. And that story is why. Regardless of whether he thinks he took a bad shot or not, you're going to pay for that eventually.
Yep. 100%. 100%.
The knife slit the throat thing just killing me. I've seen that so many times.
I did text my buddy Craig which if you ever need a good black bear hunt, go up to Grove Hill Outfitters up in Maine because he runs a great guide service. But he shot a deer opening day, a crossbow, waited, half hour, got down, right, tracks blood, and the thing's standing under a tree eating acorns. He's like, what should, and then it just like got all drunk looking and fell over. And he's like, what should I do? I was like, you got a knife? He's like, oh, yeah, absolutely. I go, it's the hard heart that kills. Go stab it. He ran up to stab it. That thing stood up, jumped off the riverbank into the river, and was gone. Never to come up ever.
Or you can stand there and wait for another 20 minutes. It's going to die.
Yeah. I'm a bad friend, man. I'm a bad friend.
Does nobody carry pistols anymore?
I do. He didn't have one that day. I don't know why.
Right.
Speaking of that, Mission First Tactical has came up with a great pistol harness. So for you hunters that like to carry your pistol on your chest,
yeah,
go get one of those pistol harnesses that they've got.
Oh shit!
Here's one that caused a lot of, and this is getting back to the hunting part of it. This is Brandon Ballistic started this. Said, I don't hunt with 5.56 or 223 and always use 308 or 243, but I've been wanting to try it and even bought some 5.56 hollow point ammo that is supposedly meant for hunting. But I wouldn't mind hearing from someone with a lot of experience hunting with 5.56, 223 as to what they think is the best manufacturer, bullet weight, bullet type, etc. Blah, blah, blah. And we talked about this a little bit already. What they feel is the best hunting round using those parameters, or if you have to get into hard hand loading for reliable consistency. We haven't really talked hand loading much, especially at longer ranges. Also, what would be the longest distance that they would feel the hit would still be effective enough for hunting? For combat, it doesn't matter as much if the round is lethal at long distances, just as long as it causes enough damage for the target to either be incapacitated. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just kind of weed through this because he's long-winded. But I know KOUP wanted to really go into this.
Is this the one that you're harassing me about? You're harassing me?
Don't
say the episode. Look, I was just dangling, right? I was just dangling it out there.
You're like,
right?
Tickling.
I mean, I asked him, why would you hunt with that? You know what I mean? Like, I say don't do. I don't even like coyote hunting with 223. Because I don't want runners.
God, no.
It's animals' will to live is just it's an incredible thing, right? And a lot of people need to understand, right? Yes, the military uses 5.56, but they need to really understand that even soft guys, right? Not everyone just like, oh, you're a Marine, oh, you're Army, whatever. Oh man, you must know everything about every weapon system, and you're a shooter, right? Or every special operations guy's a shooter. Well, 90% of guys in the like recon soft communities, they're not shooters, right? They have something that they are really good at, right? Maybe it is, maybe they're a CQB guy, maybe they're a sniper, right? Maybe they are a shooter. Shooting is something that we do, that we are taught to do, right? But most guys outside of shooting ARs, i.e. M4s, right, and pistols and issued weapons, and that's even snipers too, do not have the breadth of knowledge and depth that we are talking about right in this episode, right? Because they have tools that they use for a job, right? And that's what they are trained to do.
Yep.
So
and they only know what they're, and they only know what military experience gives them.
100%. They can only regurgitate what their instructors told them. Now, if they're the guy who's doing PRS matches, they're avid hunters, they're researching all this stuff and latest and greatest and all the stuff that we've been talking about for the last 3 hours, right? Then they're a professional at their craft and they know what they're doing. But a lot of guys, I mean, really, you don't have enough time to do that because you have so much other stuff you have to do in the military. You know what I mean? So the military thing isn't kind of a part of the discussion, right? Because again, some of these guys are the guys who are out now who own companies who are saying for you to go hunt with a 5.56, as we've said, is not the best way. I just say don't hunt with the 5.56. I mean, if you are insistent on doing it, then make sure you choose your ammo accordingly, and right? Make sure that
40, 50
and you're
yards.
taking a close shot, right? Like a 500-yard shot on a whitetail with a 5.56 is not the way, fellas, ladies, gentlemen, whoever's listening, right? It's not the way. Can it be done? Absolutely. Should it be done? Not ethically, right? As a hunter, I think that's the other thing that people need to understand too, right? Like as a hunter, and I'll say that I'm a professional hunter, right? I want to ethically harvest my quarry, right? That means I want one shot DRT. That's dead right there. In case you don't know my favorite kind of tracking, dead right there, right? Or the tracking is bare minimum. Or if you're ton, he shoots them as close to a road as he can, right?
The
Amen,
least
brother.
pain and suffering that you can deliver, and that's not having to go up with the knife and slit its throat. That's
Absolutely.
That is
Right. Even
unethical.
if you have a hard
But on that same note, there is a response to that from one of our listeners, Beard Farmer, and I think this is more what you're directing your response to. Is this guy is that I've hunted enough deer with 5.56 to be comfortable with it. Good hits have a 20 to 30 dead dash, but otherwise lead to a quick death. I've used both the Hornaday 75 grain and 75 grain AMAX to get it. Along with some others, distance of lethality is harder to pin down, but fragmenting, expanding bullets tend to be good down to 1800 FPS impact velocity. You have to know the number out of your rifle. You have to know the number. And that's another point is you want to take your rifle out and you want to sight it in, you want to shoot it, you want to know the capability of that rifle with that round before you go hunting.
Sure. Well, and that talks into something we talked about very early on is the kinetic energy number. And there's a specific kinetic energy that's the minimum number to take down any certain size animal. And he's alluding to that and how he answered it. And again, can you do it? Absolutely. But it's, I would not want to pull a house trailer with a Miata. You might get it moving, but man, you're going to burn that thing up quick, and it's just not the tool for the job. So pick the proper tool for the job and use it appropriately.
Yeah. And I like KOUP's response there. Said, I'm going to give you an inside scoop if you're wanting to shoot an AR, but you'll have to wait for the episode.
Boom. Dangled it, baby.
I like it. I like it. I mean, that's we've pretty much covered most of it. Was there another question that you guys saw in there that you wanted to cover that I didn't hit? There's a bullpup, Gerald Link. What's the best bullpup rifle for this caliber? What is or who makes the best rifle platform for the caliber? AR, AK, Galil, or Tavor?
Oh, the best bullpup is the AR-15. So that's it.
The one you like and the one you can afford. That's the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're into bullpups, so be it. If not, man, get an AR. Just get an AR.
Galils are awesome. I mean, I like Galils.
Oh, absolutely. And there's all kind of hybrid stuff out there too. So I've got a SIG 5.56 that I really like. It controls and functions, feels like an AR or whatever, but it's got a different system in it or whatnot. But there's a lot of different neat stuff out there. But as far as simplicity, inexpensive workhorses, you're not going to now. Yeah.
Especially now, inexpensive. I mean, I have never seen them cheaper. You can get like you said, you're talking about Bear Creek Arsenal. You get a full AR rifle and they got all kinds of different calibers available too for like $400.
Yeah, can't beat it. I mean, I was actually surprised nobody asked about what's better, piston or direct impingement, honestly. Right. And on that note, right, like direct impingement's as great as it's ever been. I mean, we're at like the freaking pinnacle of AR functionality right now, Yep. So I mean, sure, you can run a piston system if you want, but I mean, why? I mean, if you want to be, I mean, it's a little bit heavier, right? But that being more reliable and all that stuff's kind of been debunked over the years. I mean, both systems are good, but I mean, why? I don't know. That's my opinion. Why?
Well, I'm right there with you. And there's something to be said if you're only going to run it suppressed. You can keep it a little cleaner, maybe a little cooler, whatever else. But here's the deal: if you're apocalyptic prepper, Mister, I'm going to use this to fend off from the Federales, whatever guy. If you're looking at the two, and you just here's your decision point. If you have a direct impingement gun and you trip, fall, take a round, get shot, and something happens to your gas system, you still have a bolt action gun. If you do the same thing on a gas impingement system and it bends that op rod, you're fucked. You got a club.
Done.
Yep.
So
Yep. I'm with you.
There's the difference.
Yep. I'm with you. 100%.
All right. So got one more here. And then we'll wrap up our questions and we'll pick a couple of winners and give some prizes too.
This the best for last type thing? You had a real weird look there.
So I don't know. I haven't seen this listener before. It says, Jim, how do you feel about the 221 Fireball?
Oh, that's a really neat cartridge, actually. Old as sin. It really is. Look, I like some old weird stuff too.
Is that a drink? Is that a liquor drink or?
No, man.
Fireball.
It's a little
Fireball.
Look. Again,
I got to pull it up.
It's got a specific purpose, and man, during the late 50s, all through the 60s, like the Prairie Dog guys were doing some crazy shit. And then it had a bit of a revival in the 90s and early 2000s. That's when we got like the 17 Fireball and some of the other derivatives off of those, the really, really fast stuff, the 204 Ruger. Man, so for what they do in a Prairie Dog town, man, they're awesome cartridges. They're really neat. And you can get them really fast and you can get them accurate too. But again, it's one of those cartridges where you got to pick what you're going to do with it, and you got to have fun with it because you're using it in a specific way. So,
can you shoot this in an AR platform?
Yeah, I think so. I right off the top of my head, I can't 100% remember.
I've never seen it, so I don't know.
Yeah, and there's like I said, they came out in I think it was in the late 90s. They came out with the 17 Remington Fireball, and that may just be when I came accustomed to it too. But their full size cartridge with small caliber projectiles, and they were made just to be smoking fast. And the reason behind it is you can go to a Prairie Dog town and have a minimum elevation change on your optics and shoot longer distances. So you could transition from close to from 50 yards to 300 or 400 yards and really just kind of hold a little high. And it was so flat that it would get there really fast.
What's the range on one of those?
Like point range is probably 350 yards probably without having too much elevation change.
It's just, it looks so short.
It's a shortened 5.56. It's shortened. It's 0.36, I believe, shorter than a 223.
Right. So
same cartridge, just shorter.
Sure. So they're all neat. They're all neat plays off of the same platform. So, again, it depends on what you're going to use it for. Like the 17 Remington Fireball is a pretty badass little dude too. It shoots a 17 caliber bullet, but it shoots it at breakneck speeds.
What's one of the most, and this is for everybody, what's one of the most off the wall rounds you've ever shot? Just like, wow, never heard of this. Nothing come to mind?
Well,
look, I got some really weird people in my life too. So
I was going to say,
all right,
different countries and whatnot that you guys have been in.
But it depends on what circle you run in. Like, there was a group of high speed hunter dudes, and when I say high speed, I don't mean they're high speed, but they got really deep into the very fast hunting cartridges like the Lazzaroni stuff, long range hunting stuff. 7mm STW. A lot of people don't know what that is anymore, and it used to be one of the fastest 7mm cartridges on the market. On the open market. And so
I
it
used to
really
hear a
depends
lot
on.
of strange rounds for people who go on the safari hunts. There's
Oh
got all
yeah,
this specialty,
Oh yeah,
crazy
dangerous game
round.
guns are. That's dangerous game guns are just one of the things of beauty to marvel at, but like they're just insane when you look at
Yeah.
these
Sure.
barrel side by side, like 416 Rigby's or
Yeah,
375 H&H, right? You're like, wow, like that thing looks very painful.
I've got a really good friend of mine, Cameron, who he's big, like a very like when you're talking about professional hunters. This dude is his whole life has been built around the hunting industry, whether it be setting people up to hunt or going to hunt himself or whatever. And we were talking about it, and he's like, "Look, here's the deal." He's like, "Everybody I've ever talked to in Africa," he said, "you can carry whatever you want, but I ain't carrying nothing that don't start with a 4 when it comes to dangerous game. Is you can say whatever you want to past the 4, but it better start with 4 or your ass ain't gonna hunt with me in the dangerous game world."
Yeah. Well, I mean, it says it all in the first word, dangerous.
Right.
Right.
It's like if you don't kill it, it's gonna kill you.
Well, and and we get all wrapped around the axle here as Americans, especially as long range precision shooters, whatever, but like 338 Lapua, and those are some awesome cartridges, but those are purpose built to shoot long range targets. They weren't made for hunting. Now, when you talk about hunting, then there's been some cartridges purposely built for that. And little known fact too, there in the early 1900s, before the 300 Win Mag came out, the 300 H&H was the king of the 1,000-yard range, and it stayed that way for decades and decades, even after the 300 Win Mag came out. But when the 300 Win Mag came out, it was just a more efficient cartridge than the H&H, and that's why it took over. And kind of the same thing where we got now the 300 PRC. The ballistics are almost the same across those 3 cartridges. They're very, very similar between all 3 of them. Even though there's 120 or 30 years apart from bullet design or whatever. But the 300 PRC is just a more efficient cartridge because they can make it a little smaller, a little more compact, and you use a longer bullet in the same chamber and, action differences or whatever. Which if you use a 300 Holland, you can still shoot that same bullet, but you may have to single load them because they're so long. They won't feed the magazine or they won't feed up the chute or whatever. But the ballistics are all the same. Are generally close to being the same.
My dad had a lever action. I think it was a 25-35 lever action they used for deer hunting back in the day. I don't even think that's around anymore.
So it's like a 30-06. The cartridges used to be designed where they'd be the circumference and the length, and that's how you got the cartridge name or whatever. It's like the 4570, the 30-06. I mean, there's a plethora of them out there, the 3230s and all of those. So, in our minds, we think 45 long Colt's the old cowboy gun. Well, that really was that came really, really late in the game as far as cowboy gun, true 6-shooters or whatever. But the 3230s were kings when it came to the actual no kidding first generation Colts and older.
Yeah, when growing up in the desert, that's why I was messing with Jim with the 221 Swift and the 221.
It's a
221 Fireball and the 220 Fireball. The 220 Swift.
You messed it up again.
The 220 Swift and the 221 Fireball is what I grew up hunting predators with.
Right.
Yeah. And we would end up smoking the barrels because them things ran so damn hot.
Yeah.
We would,
you're
with a
35, you're talking about 3,500 plus. I mean, up to 4,000 feet a second. So,
yeah. We grew
a lot.
That's
this
what
is
we
going to
grew
be
up
the
with.
one we ended on right here. So Nikolai Applenat, this is a pretty good one right here. What is the best cartridge that has been produced with the 5.56 as the parent case, in your opinion? My personal vote goes to the little-known 277 Wolverine, but also really enjoy the 300 Blackout. That's a good one. So we'll leave it with personal preference. Ton, what's yours?
Not 300 Blackout.
But which one's your favorite? That's been
the parent case. Yeah. I'm still with the 221 Fireball. I'm still there. That'd be in the parent case is the 223.
Okay.
That is still my all-time favorite.
KOUP.
So I'm having a brain fart right now because I got very upset about a year ago because I love the 6 arc. I think it's the best hunting one, right? For hunting out of an AR platform, right? Out of an AR-15 platform. But they just came out with a 6. What is it? Oh man, it's a 6mm out of a 5.56. Oh man, my phone just slid down the couch. It's basically a 6 arc. It's supposed to be a smidge better ballistically than the 6 arc, but it's out of a 5.56 case. I can't think of what the
I can't
right
remember
now.
that one either.
It's not a 6.5 Grendel.
No.
PRC.
It's out of a 5.56 case. I was very upset because I was like, why didn't anyone do this sooner?
I am looking for that. So while I'm looking for this, Jim, what's yours?
A 223 Remington.
Just straight out. Cartridge
look,
itself.
Yeah, just the straight cartridge itself. And I get the Wildcat stuff, and I enjoy the Wildcat stuff. I got 300 blackout stuff, and that little 6mm he's talking about.
6mm max.
Max, yeah, 6 max. That's a pretty neat cartridge too.
That's a
and I think they're awesome. But I've got other guns that do the same thing, and I'm not a big variance jumper when it comes to that. Because where we at now, until, and there's a caveat to this, but when I was in acquisition stuff in the Army, we knew that we were getting very, very close to the 95 plus percentile of being able to get out of a metallic projectile through a tubular metallic barrel delivered explosively. We knew we were getting close to the end of what we could do with that. There's only so much you can do. Like internal combustion, pushing a projectile down a barrel, we're pretty close to maxed out. And if you're really honest, truly honest with yourself, there's nothing new anymore. There's something that has either been wildcatted and forgotten, or turned into a semi-spec cartridge, or whatever else. But the difference between a 300 PRC and a 300 Win Mag. I mean, if you're truly honest with yourself, if you're not hand loading, what's the difference? If things like that. So, but with the last white paper that went out for the new high pressure cartridges for the military, there's going to be some fallout from that hit the market, probably in the next, soon to 5 years from now. Some of the technology that came out from that is going to hit the market. And when it does, now you're talking about similar ballistics as what has been out there, but you're talking about similar ballistics in 18-inch barrels. So you don't have to carry a 24, 26-inch barrel in the woods anymore to get full velocity out of a cartridge. You can change this cartridge to what this new technology is and shoot an 18-inch barrel and still, so now I got a gun with a suppressor on it that's the same length as the full-size rifle, and the ballistics are exactly the same.
Yeah.
So, but again, we're getting really close to the pinnacle of what we can do ballistically with the technology we have.
Yep.
Yeah. There's not much more that can be done.
There's not. I mean, until we talk about, railgun technology or some, crazy stuff like that, which is proof of concept.
Materials that they're made out of would be, I guess, the next major thing that they could improve upon is.
So there's you're going to see the wake, I mean, just like the original 277 is the 2-piece cartridge set or whatever. But the materials that come out, there was a big thing with the polymer cased ammo stuff, and I get that, I understand the polymer cased ammo thing or whatever, but no thanks. It's not there. Whatever.
But they're trying. At least they're trying. They're coming out.
They are trying. But when I say, and I wasn't truly, because I'd already moved out of acquisitions by the time that that white paper hit for the new Army cartridge or whatever. But I was, I got to see some of the stuff and some of the testing for it or whatever. When those when those companies bring their technologies out that they competed, even if they didn't win, when they bring their technology out, the first companies out with that are going to be ahead of the game, I think, especially with how everybody, because like I said, it's gonna allow you to carry a shorter, lighter gun in the woods that has the same capability of a full size long gun. That's gonna be pretty neat when that happens. But past that, I don't know where we can go.
Yeah, I concur.
All right, let's pick a couple of winners. We're going to be giving away Mission First Tactical Drinky Drink this episode. They got a nice variety there. If you're building your AR, again, we mentioned they got all the accessories, everything Mission First Tactical. Use the code Leadhead, get 20% off. They've got the new chest pack. I think I showed you guys their new chest pack that they've got out. Got the straps and all that. So that's new out. We're going to be at CanCon with Mission First coming up 1st of November. It's going to be in Clinton, South Carolina at the Clinton House Range, I believe is what it's called. So of those questions that I read there, who would you guys like to award the Mission First Tactical Drinky Drink to? KOUP, you pick.
Oh. I mean, was the guy who cut the deer's throat, was that a question? Or
that was
just
epic.
like
He's going to win something no matter
he was
what.
the most
I
active participant.
just want to give him the drinky drink container because I was like, we had a good laugh at his expense.
We were
He's
him,
epic.
but,
He's getting something no matter what. You got to send.
Yeah, I
him
mean,
something.
I say that'd be my choice.
All right, Brandon
Glad he's back on
Ballistics.
it.
Brandon
Glad he's back
Ballistics. You have won the Mission First Tactical Drinky Drink. Email me talkinglet@gmail.com and give me your address so I can forward it on to the guys there, and they will send you a random. I don't know which one you're going to get, but you'll get one of their awesome drinky drinks.
Did you put a sticker over all my engraving?
No, this is a different one.
Oh, okay.
This is the grenade one.
Okay.
I put a Velcro patch so I could put stickers on it. And I got a monkey sticker on the back. I like putting stickers on my shit. So. Otherwise, I don't use stickers that I get at all these events. So next, we're going to give away SEAL 1 Complete Gun Cleaning and Lube Kit. CLP, SEAL 1 and done for all your gun cleaning, lubrication needs. Check them out. Get 25% off. Use code LEADHEAD at SEAL 1. And they've also got a new rod cleaning system that's cool kit. So go check that out. So, Jim, I'm going to let you pick.
Behurst 87. So he's trying to build a gun. He's going to need to clean it. Let's take care of him on that side.
Behurst, very nice. And also want to let you guys know that on an upcoming episode, I'm going to be giving away a build kit from Mission First. So it's going to have the rail, it'll have the handguard, it'll have the sights, it'll have the grips, vertical, pistol, all their accessories. They've got dust shield covers that are pretty cool. I've got one on this one that's the Merca. The muted flag on there. So that's on an upcoming episode. So stay tuned for that. You're going to have all the goodies. Oh, and their butt stocks.
You're a butt
Get their butt stocks too. The minimalist. So you get complete furniture kit from Mission First coming up. But email me, Behurst. You just won the SEAL 1, and we'll email that to you or mail that to you. Tony, did you want to give away Firebird targets? You want to do anything with Firebird?
Actually, yeah, we can give away the new signal marker packs because they're being released. By the time this gets released, they'll be released.
Very good. Very good. So I will let you pick the winner for the signal markers there.
You know what? I actually liked, let me find it. Can you talk about twist rates? That guy actually.
That's just because that's the only thing you need to talk about.
Shut up. So, Sherp guns.
Shep
guns. Yeah. SHEP_guns. Let's give
What was his
him.
question?
Can you talk about the best twist rates for the wide range of bullet weights?
There you go. So Shep Guns. Do you have signal markers there? You have a pack?
No, they actually, I took them over last night to send them out. Let me pull up a picture.
Okay. So Shep Guns, you've won the signal markers. Now you're going to need the reactive targets to be able to use these.
As long as he's not in California, I'll be sending the whole thing to him.
Very nice. So you're going to get the 65s. You're going to send him the 65s?
65s and
Bio 65s and the signal markers.
Yep.
Email me, talkinglead@gmail.com. Give me your address. Tell me what you won. If you won a prize on this episode, tell me what you won also, because I'm not going to go back and try to figure out what you won. You just won't get anything.
Yep. There's
Hey,
new
I've got a
picture of the
caveat. So the last time I was on, I was giving ammo, some terminal ascent ammo away to a guy. He hit me up, and I have, for
Yeah,
whatever
I sent it
reason.
to you. I sent it to
Yeah, can you resend that to me? So I still owe that dude his packet. So I looked for it the other day when I was packaging some stuff up, and I couldn't find it.
I'll try to find that, but whoever won the ammo last episode that Jim was on,
Speak
just
up.
send me your info and I'll forward it to him if I can't find it. Get you that ammo. Did you find it? Did you get a picture?
It is pulling.
Pull it up. Show everybody what it looks like, our viewing audience. You can go to firebirdtargets.com. You can use the code TL15 and you can get 15% off any of your purchases at Firebird Targets. That includes their new signal markers and the new Bio 65s that they have.
Yeah, we're going to send. Here's the box. Let me.
You got to share your screen so I can pull that up.
Window.
Share.
It should be sharing.
And while we're talking about that, Coop, you guys have hunts coming up. Talk about the hunts you got coming up for the Reasons Outdoors.
So Wednesday, I'm bringing actually 2 Danish recon Marines and 4 other service members, Army, Coast Guard, Marines, down the Featherhorn Farm down in South Carolina for their annual Purple Heart hunt. Great, amazing hunt, amazing people for deer and hogs. And then we have a hunt coming up potentially in Tennessee next month for hogs, and as well as a elk and whitetail hunt in Montana, which will
Where's the one in Tennessee?
Pardon me?
Where's the one in Tennessee going to be?
Probably near you, actually.
Okay, well, you need to hit me up if I can help you out.
I gotta firm that up still. And then we've got a Colorado elk hunt coming up in November, as well as a pronghorn and coyote hunt in Colorado.
Sweet.
And then we have a collaboration hunt with another local nonprofit here called Paddle for Troops. And that'll be a hog and deer hunt here in North Carolina, and that will wrap up our fall here. We got a couple other local landowners that are taking some guys deer hunting and bear hunting, so it's about to jump off here and get real busy. So super excited about all that. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah, and that's the reasonsoutdoors.org. Guys, go donate. They need your donations. Can they donate things other than monetary to you guys?
Absolutely.
What do you need?
We're always down
for your hunts.
Rifles, gear,
ammo.
Hunting gear, ammo. Absolutely. Optics, all that stuff. We also have our 5-ton raffle. Which this episode will probably be not aired yet, but we're doing our 5-ton raffle on Veterans Day. I know Ton wants that thing real bad. But we have a couple gun raffles we'll be doing. So if you check our social media, or gun giveaways. I'm sorry. Right. If you check our social media, we usually we'll be announcing all that stuff. But anybody who's willing to donate anything, whether that's $1 or $100,000, which that would be cool too. We would greatly appreciate your donations. Everything that you donate goes to helping heal our nation's heroes through hunting, fishing, and outdoor adventures, aka ecotherapy.
Ecotherapy. I love that. So you guys are like putting out hats and shirts and
we just wrapped up that collaboration with Nine Line Apparel, and the goal is to sell at least 200 shirts. I think we sold around 250, so we should be able to keep a permanent store with them for our ecotherapy merchandise and our legacy logo, like this one right here. So hopefully we get that rolling. But yeah, ecotherapy, baby.
And we're going to try to get together and drag Jim and KOUP on a hunt in December on a veterans hunt. I'm trying to get that put together to go to Louisiana when it's not so swamp balls hot.
KOUP, don't ever go with ton in the summertime.
Reasons.
I'm just saying. Don't go.
I believe you.
We survived it.
You bring your lactated ringers for sure.
He's told me multiple times. He's like, "We're not hunting when it's hot. It will be when it's cold."
I died like 6 times.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
We survived it. Ish.
Well, very good. Jim, you got any competitions coming up?
So other than putting on the match on the 9th, that'll be our finale for the Altus one-day series. We are looking for, look, guys, if you want a really awesome, fun match, and you're starting to plan for next year, I'm sure there's dates for it already, but I cannot remember them. It'll be sometime probably around May. Is a 2-day long gun match down at Altus. It's going to be the 10th anniversary of the Accuracy International match. And the match has gotten bigger and bigger, more and more fun. But the 25 Accuracy International match is going to be very interesting and unique. It's going to be a great match. So find it and sign up for it. It should be, like I said, I think it's in May, April or May. Yeah, it'll be in 25. So give yourself some time to look it up. It may be in March too. I was thinking it was in May, but anyway, go to the Altus
They have a
website.
calendar on their website. You guys can go to their website. It's altusshooting.com is the website, and they've got the thing. Now, is this open to you? Got to be a member, or can public come out there?
No, any of the matches that we have like that is completely open to the public. Anybody can sign up for them. You come from anywhere you want to come.
Nice.
If you're looking to get into it and you don't have the equipment that you think you should have, let me know. I will take care of you, and I will make sure that you're with people that will introduce you to this sport properly. It is a very humble sport for the most part. You know, I can definitely make sure that if you're a new shooter and you want to get into it and you'll learn some stuff, I can definitely put you with somebody on Altus Shooting Solutions that's a friend of ours that will take care of you and teach you all of the things that you would want to learn. So, and you'll have a great time.
Cool. Very nice. Looks like a good place. You could take some veterans out there, KOUP.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
It's a badass range.
Yeah. We need to
range.
plan a blasting cast for some of your folks. Come out and do a couple of days of shooting and take them out because we're an hour from Destin.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. We'd definitely be down for that. We do have a sniper challenge fundraiser coming up next August too, 1st through the 3rd out at Thorson Ranch Training out in Montana. It's gonna be like a team sniper match. We're still in the Tony Cowden, my co-founder, he's working that right now, but that should be a relatively big deal next August. So
very good.
Cool too. But yeah, dude,
lots of stuff to to keep up with. So go check out the reasonsoutdoor.org, altusshooting.com, Altus Shooting Solutions. If you're Googling it, it'll come up that way. And then oh, wait a minute. Wasn't Melissa in Tennessee not too long ago doing a competition?
Yeah, she just went and shot a match up there. Melissa's all over the place shooting, though. So.
Yeah. She do well?
Yeah, she did pretty good, I think. So the last one she went to was the Pro-Am. It was the Gap Grind Pro-Am at Finger, Tennessee at K&M.
Yeah, that's right. We talked about it last episode.
Yeah. And so the guy that she was partnered up to shoot with was a random amateur or whatever. Ended up not being able to make it, so our oldest son shot with her. So
that was cool.
Yeah, she did the Pro-Am with the oldest boy. So that was a good time.
And Ton, you've got one coming up here in Tennessee.
MSSA veteran shoot next weekend. Well, the day after this airs, probably.
It's actually up in Kentucky, but you're gonna fly
Grand Rivers, Kentucky.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to make it up there and root 2 Ton on. And what's the girl that's gonna go to?
Jen Sailors from Axel Hearing Protection.
Yeah, I got to meet her at the Knoxville Goals. Yeah, Gunners America. So lots of good stuff going on, Leadhead. So be watching the social medias, keep up with everybody, follow them, like, subscribe, and then obviously donate to the Reasons Outdoors, and you're not going to be disappointed. Great organization, and you do a great job on your social media, posting what all you guys are doing, and featuring the hunts that you're taking the people on. So
thank you.
Pretty good touch with the community there. I like that.
Appreciate it. I have to give that credit to James because he works his butt off doing that. So James, good job, James.
Good job, James. You're on the Leadhead Brigade heroes. So Leadheads, that does it for the 556th episode of the Talking Lead podcast. We appreciate each and every one of you tuning in, liking, subscribing, following. Bring a buddy, tell a friend to the show, because that's how we grow and make this thing possible. So go support our sponsors, use those codes. And until the next episode, Leadheads, as always, keep your loved ones close.
And your firearms closer.
Boom.
She said she made our best thing.